gainful employment by 2030, and 70% of those being young girls. So that's about 5 million young girls getting opportunities to be in gainful employment. They've done a lot of work with their partners. There's many implementing partners who've come in place, and they're focusing on areas such as MSMEs and agriculture. And they're also looking at how else can we support, in what other areas can we support the girl child get into meaningful and gainful work. So we'll be having a conversation with two ladies on that issue this morning. One of them is the Wangeshi Wachira. She's the Executive Director at the Center for Rights, Education and Awareness. That's CREW. And the other one is Joyce Mushena. She is the head of gender mainstreaming at the Mastercard Foundation. The two ladies will be with us at 7 a.m. for that conversation. At 8 o'clock, we want to talk about what we'll be doing in a couple of days' time. That's about 21 days' time, when we will be flagged off at the Uhuru Gardens and get onto the Southern Bypass and run the full hog, 42 kilometers or 21 kilometers or 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers. That's a Standard Charter Nairobi Marathon. Have you registered for this? You should. Just go to nairobimarathon.com. Register for either the full marathon or the half marathon.
Yep, do it. And, it's a call to all ladies. Doesn't matter where you are. Doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. You can actually come out and register for this. Make yourself, a better athlete. Make yourself an athlete. And then do it all for a good cause.
Yes. At 9, we hope to have the Deputy Governor of Kakamega County, or shall we call him the co-governor of Kakamega County, the Honorable Ayub Savula, coming here, and let's talk about this. So I saw MCAs of Kakamega County have said to the governor, please work with Kenya Kwanza.
Just, organize yourself.
Yeah, mujipange. Of course, they are from Azimio, but they're being told, can you work with the government in power? Sisi hatutaki nini hii mambo.
It'll be interesting to hear what the co-governor has to say about that.
Let us hear what the co-governor says. So let's get straight into the conversation. I have the day's proverb, and the proverb is from that country of yesterday, which is
Cote d'Ivoire.
And the capital of Cote d'Ivoire is
Yamoussoukro.
Which one is that?
That's the commercial capital.
The
other, no, that's the administrative capital. The commercial capital is Abidjan.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Bated breath, Eric. Bated breath.
They're a couple.
You like them all.
Yeah. Let me say this. Okay, let me just pick this one. Okay. It's better a bad wife than an empty house. Drops mic. It's better a bad wife than an empty house.
Oh, you stay by yourself.
Umeelewa?
Nimeelewa.
Very good.
Nimeshika kabisa.
Very good. Ednah, is this system okay? Can we do traffic? Ama tuendelee tu? Let's just continue first. Let's go straight into the newspaper headlines. Remember, from wherever you are across the country, if you buy the Standard newspaper at 60 shillings, you scan a QR code and then you get onto our online platform and you see all the online content, especially if you're using your Airtel. You have 4G internet accessibility across the country from Airtel. So Airtel to Airtel as well, sending money is free. And Airtel money, you can pay into any pay bill or till number because
till ni till
with
Airtel.
Very good. Hiya, what's on the front pages?
Front page of the Standard today. Hustlers miss out on Ruto's 30-day boon. Whereas friends and loyal politicians have been rewarded by appointments from the legislature to the executive, 30 days down the line, Wananchi is still experiencing tough times. Drought is ravaging the country, fuel prices are at an all-time high, and the cost of living just got worse. That's a big story on the front page. We'll look at the details on page 4. There's also a question, Utamaduni or Huduma Day? Confusion reigns in terms of what that is. So that's going to be an interesting one. And there's 51 billion shillings that the CBK says banks need to stay afloat. So that's what's on the front page of the Standard. Yes.
I'm the one with the nation.
Yes, you are.
Pay cuts loom in Ruto budget plan. Non-salary benefits such as allowances, including entertainment and travel, and various non-essential expenditures will be reviewed for the chop starting this morning as the Treasury moves to effect Ruto's directive to save 300 billion shillings from this year's budget. Where is that money likely to come from? Leading non-essential spenders in this current financial year's budget. Looking at just travel, the National Assembly has 5.73 billion shillings budgeted for travel this year.
Where are they going?
To their constituency.
Oh, okay. Oh. It's internal travel.
Yeah, well, and some
more
external.
overwhelmed and overgasted.
Parliamentary Service Commission, 2.29 billion shillings for the Parliamentary Service Commission. So if you just look at those two, there's 8 billion shillings in Parliament alone. The IEBC has been given 1.75 billion shillings for travel in this current financial year. Remember, this current financial year is where the August 9th election fell. So there was a lot of travel, of course. I don't know how much they've spent of that 1.75 billion shillings. The Ministry of Interior, 1.46 billion shilling. The presidency, remember we talked about Uhuru increasing some budget for his office. 957 million shillings for travel. Alone. Traveling alone, close to $1 billion. Hospitality, again, the presidency, 1.4 billion shillings to host a party here, to host church leaders, to host, visiting heads of states, to all those kind of things.
Some snacks and drinks kind of thing. Okay.
Tukienda nyumba kubwa lazima kunywa chai. Interior Ministry, hospitality, 803 million shillings. When you go to a police station, they give you tea as you wait to see the OCS, or they give you a kamandazi here and there as you wait to see the OCS. You've never seen?
In a police station?
If you've gone to a police station and 803 million shillings for the Interior Ministry.
You must demand, look, if you have been arrested, and you're waiting to do, if you don't get a cup of tea, you must demand, because after all, they've got 803 million bucks.
Yes.
So they should at least.
And depending on the time of day. If you're arrested in the morning, itisha sambusa. If you're arrested about 5 p.m.,
ugali.
Itisha mutura.
You're not all together there.
803.7 million shillings for the Interior Ministry for hospitality alone. IBC, 648 million shillings for hospitality. This is where the choirs were getting their cash from.
Yes.
Foreign Affairs, 386 million shillings for hospitality. The Judiciary, 426 million shillings, hospitality. The National Assembly, hospitality, 206 million shillings.
This hospitality is something. It appears as though...
Josie, they hosted the president and they gave him
for
tea.
lunch. That day when he went just
that
before...
kind of things. For hospitality in the National Assembly. 200 million shillings.
What are they eating?
Eh?
What are they eating?
See, that's the money that they have in their canteen there. Treasury, 360. The Treasury has more money for hospitality than the National Assembly.
Who are they hospitalizing? I don't understand. Jehovah.
369 million shillings hospitality for the National Treasury. Higher. Training, higher. The Teacher Service Commission, 1 billion shillings. The Interior Ministry, training, 683 million shillings. The Ministry of Health, training, 478 million shillings. IEBC, training, 302 million shillings. Parliamentary Joint Services, 160 million shillings. Induction in.
Good grief.
Contracting professional services. The National Treasury is the biggest contractor of professional services. They are going to contract such people so that they can see how they can save 300 billion shillings.
They're going to pay them. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute.
You get the point. You get the point.
They're going to pay them to help them find 300 billion.
They are going to contract some consultants to look at
when
where
you
to save 300 billion shillings. They are going to spend 11 billion shillings to
find 300 billion.
To hire consultants.
To find 300 billion. Is it not at the end of the day what they're looking for, Eric?
Consultants are
call a spade a spade and not
billion
a big
shillings
spoon.
by the National Treasury. 11
should we not enter this consultancy thing? Sorry,
We can
I have to ask, and
consult
you're skirting around the issue here. I'm asking you a question. they're paying them 11 billion shillings to find 300 billion.
Well, they were paid 11 billion shillings to spend 3.6 trillion shillings. All right. That was the initial budget, Ukuriatani. So now we'll root on all this confusion of 300 billion, find 300 billion shillings. Now, of course, this budget may go up.
Beyond the 11 billion.
Yeah, because now you have to bring now a the specialist that you're going to hire for professional services is how to usefully spend 3.6 trillion shillings. Now you need another consultant to show you how to not spend 300 billion shillings.
You
see, that can't be the same person.
No, it can't.
If this is an expert on spending, you've got to go and look for now an expert on not spending.
On saving.
So this budget for 11 billion shillings contracting professional services is likely to go up at the National Treasury. So then we can save 300 billion shillings. Foreign Affairs, 1 billion shillings contracting professional services. The National Assembly is everywhere.
They use
73.
They're the ones who are using all the money in the country. I'm telling you.
73 million shillings to hire professional services.
For what? Cleaning, that kind of thing. Huh? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys, the garbage collection, the cleaning services.
No, that's different.
Cleaning services.
No.
It's different. So what's
different.
professional services?
See, consultancies.
For what?
You consultate on how to consultate. And the National Assembly is different from the Parliamentary Service Commission, which has 55 million shillings budgeted for professional services. It's also different from Parliamentary Joint Services, which has 297 million shillings for contracting professional services. Are we together so far?
Jeez.
Now let's go to those things that you're asking. Cleaning, guard, security, blah, 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 blah. Parliamentary Joint Services has 36.8 million shillings budgeted for this year to be spent on contracted guards, cleaning services and such.
Terrible.
Not police, huh?
Not security.
No. It's the guards nowadays, those and then the cleaners and those. Executive Office of the President is contracting cleaning services and guards and such for 2 billion shillings this year.
What?
Yes.
No, I didn't hear. As in, I'm saying what because I didn't hear.
Executive Office of the President has a budget of 2.14 billion shillings for guards and cleaning services and such. Adam Gokumakamago.
The place where they are cleaning. Is it here?
See, it's the office of executive offices of the president.
Which one is? How many are there? How many offices are there?
The executive office of the president. That includes state lodges.
Around the country.
Their home.
Around the country,
yes.
Nakuru,
yes.
Mombasa.
State House, Karen, such. Those are executive office of the president.
Cleaning.
Yeah.
And
Harambe House Annex.
And this is different from police and AP. It's different.
There is nowhere where there's executive office of the president where there's no guard.
No,
and this is a police guard.
But I'm asking you now.
And a police guard is not, of course, in this budget. Of course.
That's what I'm saying. This is different from police.
So this is different. So it's those ones of, cleaner here.
Ex-security company there for this service purpose.
Is there a security company anywhere at G4S in State House?
I've never seen it.
Or in Karen? Or in Harambe House? Or in Harambe House Annex?
It's AP.
It's GSU.
It's GSU.
So it's only the cleaner we're talking about here.
2.1 billion.
And it's not hospitality yet. Those guys who do the
hospitality we already
tents.
saw.
Hospitality, we know how much it is.
Yeah.
It is 1.4 billion shillings. This cleaning services is double that amount. So you can see where the 300 billion is going to come from.
Yeah, they should. In fact, they can get some 1 billion from the EO. It's possible. 1 billion already, we can see where it can come from.
This is going to be a tough one, though. It's going to be a tough one. They have given it coverage on page 6 and 7 of The Nation this morning.
I'm already weak.
If you just ask yourself, so what exactly have they been... How do we justify this kind of expenditure?
Can you? Can
Maybe.
you justify?
Maybe there's actually a proper explanation in between. This is it. We have X number of cleaners at State House. We've got to be there around the clock. And this company hires X amount per cleaner is 35,000 bob. We have 100 cleaners because of working in shifts and this and the other. So it comes to this. This is just Nairobi. Now, when the president goes to Sagana State Lodge, you don't carry the ones from Nairobi. You
No,
can't get
they
the
have
ones.
to be there.
Those ones in Sagana State Lodge have to be waiting.
Have to be there
ready
waiting in case anybody,
in case the president
pops up.
decides to come.
Okay.
Yeah. The one now you go to Nakuru, Kisumu said, those, they have to clean every morning.
The money that you're looking for is right there. I'm telling you.
Wiping the fine china.
The money that you're looking for is right there.
It's a serious one. This one is going to be a big one. Another story, and this is on the 100-day promise. See, that's the standard headline. Hustlers miss out on Ruto's 30-day boon, page 4 of the Standard. After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are still waiting for President William Ruto to start delivering his pledges 30 days after he was sworn in. Remember, today is the 30th day. It's a month since William Ruto saw the solemn oath.
Is it really?
Yes.
Did he not swear on the 13th?
See, it's 4 Tuesdays ago.
It's been that long.
Yeah.
Good grief. I tell you those things.
It's 4 Tuesdays ago. Tell us those things.
The cost of fuel is 179 shillings.
That's okay.
The market is bracing for another hike this Friday. Dun, 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 dun.
Or maybe not.
With Ruto saying his administration will slam the brakes on fuel subsidies that had gobbled up 144 billion since the start. 230 shillings is what you're buying maize flour for. No direct intervention so far to bring down the prices, despite the commodity having been a hot topic during campaigns. 4 million is the drought effect. Millions of Kenyans are still waiting for the government to provide food aid to ease the pain. And 550 billion shillings. MSMEs await enactment of the Hustler Fund to get affordable loans. This was a grand promise and a key pillar of Ruto's manifesto. So, all right, 4 Tuesdays ago, the hope then was reborn where people believed that this was actually going to happen. So, 30 days in office, what's he done so far? And how far the journey is. After the dust has settled from rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for what President William Ruto and when he will start to deliver his pledges 30 days after he was sworn in. Many Kenyans still remember the hard-hitting remarks by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in his inauguration speech. He said, "We have inherited a dilapidated economy that is facing almost an economic shutdown. It is your prayers that will help your president to put up a team that will start work from day one to liberate this country economically and put it back where Mwai Kibaki left us 10 years ago." Taking over government at a time when more than 4.2 million Kenyans are facing acute food shortage due to drought across 24 counties, the high cost of living, rising food prices, a weakening shilling and inflation, these words are music to the ears of a hungry electorate. However, the Kenya Kwanza administrator's first month in office has seen little resolution of these issues, even as the president crafts his government. Since Kibaki's record has been the yardstick upon which Ruto's administration had asked Kenyans to measure it by, judged by Gashagua's remarks, it is only appropriate to compare the two governments. Kibaki was sworn in on December 30th, 2002, and 7 days later, on January 6th, chiefs were rallying parents to take their children to public schools after the rollout of the free primary education program. 7 days. In his first act of business during his inauguration speech, President Ruto promised Kenyans that the price of fertilizer would drop by almost half. A week later, this has come to pass. For the short rains, we have already made arrangements to make 1.4 million bags of fertilizer available for 3,500 shillings a bag, down from 6,500. He also weighed in on the competency-based curriculum, promising to form a task force that would facilitate public participation to streamline key issues. 2 weeks later, after his swearing in, Ruto appointed a 42-member team led by renowned educationist Professor Raphael Munavu to collect views and to propose radical changes on implementation of the CBC, review mid-level training, and propose modification to university education. Done. Consequential changes in his first 30 days that touched directly at the heart of the hustler predicament came from the president's meeting with Safaricom Chief Executive officer Peter Ndegwa, which led to the slashing of Fuliza overdraft charges by 50%. Done. Daily charges on loans of up to 1,000 shillings came down to 10 shillings or to 5 shillings. And Safaricom and their partners were able to make this happen. Similarly, in an attempt to bolster efforts touching on the lives of people, the president flagged off a consignment of 40,000 bags of beans and rice, assorted animal feeds and cooking fat destined for the 31 counties that have been stricken by drought. Done. Shall I continue?
41,000 to 31 counties.
Yes.
It's about 1,000 per county.
Yes. Is that enough? No. Will it continue? The hope is rife.
Okay.
The move has seen the DP take command of the Drought Response Task Force, pulling in counties, leadership and international partners. Currently, efforts are underway for the Kenya Defence Forces to drill boreholes in the drought-affected areas, while a directive has been issued to the Kenya Meat Commission to buy cattle from the locals and offer meat to the affected population, especially school children.
Okay, that's nothing new. So what have they done? Kenya Meat Commission buy meat from the farmers. Livestock offtake was supposed to have happened 2 years ago. And if somebody has livestock today, and we are seeing photos of donkeys just dying on the roadsides. I think what Rigathi Gachagua should be doing, because he's the one who's spearheading this, we should be seeing Rigathi Gachagua in those counties. Not seeing him
in Nairobi behind a podium waving a flag.
Or someone in Uasin Gishu saying he's forgiven people. Nobody reads your forgiveness, but people need to live.
I need to eat to live. Absolutely.
So what else have they done?
He's travelled to the United States and to the UK.
Okay.
And to Uganda and Tanzania.
That's all right.
He is appointed a cabinet.
All right.
It's going to be vetted by Parliament.
Okay.
But essentially they'll take office. He's failed on his 50% promise of women in his cabinet.
Okay.
What else? He said that, look, there's criticism, but he's expressed confidence that the new team will work on the nuts and bolts of the country's transformation. He said, we have a difficult economic situation in our hands. This is what he's saying. The things that he wants to do, he's not able to do because he's inherited this economy, which is already fledgling, you know?
Yeah.
So he's saying, look, we're working on it. We're doing everything we can to make sure that in a very short time, this will happen. I could have done more in 30 days, but I inherited a really, really bad state of affairs. It will be premature to assess the president's performance at the moment, according to economist Ken Gishinga. I would give it another 2 months, he says. His governance expert Tom Boyer and said the president is currently hamstrung within his own working cabinet, thus limiting what he can actually achieve. So
he doesn't have a cabinet.
Give it time. There's no cabinet. People are not really able to get to work. They're not able to generate as much as they thought they would in this short period of time. So, give it a minute. Give it some pull. And we should see something in another 60 days or so.
Okay. So I see the same argument is being fronted by columnist Dennis Kabara, who is an economist. He says we should be realistic about Kenya Kwanza's first 100 days. So we're all looking towards the 22nd of December and saying 100 days end here.
Now,
what have you delivered? So what had he said he's going to deliver within 100 days? There's nothing on the Kenya Kwanza manifesto that says implementation first week, second week, third week, up to the final week. Nothing.
I think it's very careful not to do that.
And Dennis is saying, I haven't found a written down version of KK's Alliance 100-day plan, but we could begin the commitments that Dr. Ruto made when launching the Kenya Kwanza manifesto at the end of June. Beyond general mentions about reducing the cost of living and the Hustler Fund, there were commitments around an independent police budget. He has already signed that the Inspector General of Police is in charge of the budget. Swearing in of the judges, that has happened. Establishment of the Judiciary Fund, that happened before he came to office. Lower cost fertilizer, okay, that he's flagged off some lower cost fertilizer, some couple of bags. We haven't seen that now being rolled out at the farm level. But then he's saying, look, if we talk about these 100-day promises, we're being unfair on the president. Because number one, the president has served 30 days. He has nominated a cabinet. Unlike Mwai Kibaki, who got in and he nominated a cabinet and he appointed a cabinet, he didn't have to go through vetting. So he told Saitoti immediately, roll out schools.
Let them go to school.
There was somebody to do it. Now, the president, according to Dennis Kabara, is, and even Tom Boyer, you're saying,
hamstrung.
He's hamstrung, but he is not. Today, the president is going to chair his third cabinet meeting. There's a cabinet in place.
There's a sitting cabinet. Yes, there is. That they can get some stuff done.
There are PSs in office. There's a public service in place. Any decision that is made in State House today, like last week's decision of lifting the ban on GMO, stands and it's legal. So there's nothing about, I need Moses Kuria instead of Betty Minor.
So
there's no difference.
I know, of course, there's no difference because a cabinet should be able to move regardless.
Yes.
There is the unsaid thought that you want to move with your own people, that whatever plans.
That's okay. You'll move with your own people.
So even you wait until it is in place for you to then be able to do it.
Listen.
Yes.
Even if you have your own cabinet, you're not going to have your own directors in ministries. You're not going to have your own officers in ministries. You're not going to have new DOs.
No.
County commissioners and all. Yeah. Those ones remain. The system that is government is running.
And it will still be the same.
And it will still be. When you launched the fertilizer thing, you didn't have a cabinet. And you launched the fertilizer thing.
And it still went out.
When you instructed the National Treasury to cut back 300 billion shillings, you're basically instructing Kuriatani and the PS, not Professor Njuguna Ndung'u. Njuguna Ndung'u will work with them, but the decision, ultimately, the person who's responsible and answerable is Kuriatani. So if he's able to cut 300 billion shillings today, he's able to flag off maize and you said rice and what? Rice and beans.
No, it was just beans.
There were two things. It was beans and rice, I think. It was beans and something.
It's true, there were two things that left.
Yeah.
40, yes, you're right, beans. And then there was assorted animal feeds and cooking fats.
Yeah.
Yes.
If he's able to do all that thing, then he's also able to do the others.
You're right. The reluctance, I think it's reluctance and you can feel it, like we want to get moving, but there's still some, there's some give on the gas and there's some give on the brakes, but there's no full throttle that we're talking about. And we're saying that the situation in the country at the moment needs full throttle. Let's move. You can't wait. So then what if Parliament doesn't vet in the next 30 days, what if they don't?
The cabinet that is in place stays in place.
Exactly. So we can actually move on and get some
Only thing you don't have is you don't have Aidan Mohammed who resigned. You don't have Cecily Kariuki who resigned. But there are people who have been acting in those ministries.
And you can move on with them. Absolutely.
James Macharia is acting for all those. And he's in office. And he's taken you to see where you're going to do your affordable housing places. Last week you went with James Macharia.
We need to get this caboose moving because otherwise you're going to get into a place where by come those 100 days or whatever it is that people are looking for, it will still be told the same thing.
Kitu. If you show the roadmap to getting that hustler fund out and running and all those things. Yes, it's 100 days, it's 30 days done, 30 days and 60 days counting to December 22nd. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a Situation Room. It's the International Day of the Girl Child, and we're celebrating that this week. In the next hour, we talk about what the Mastercard Foundation and partners have been doing, looking at how to support the girl child to get meaningful and gainful employment. And this is the conversation we'll be having. Remember, anywhere you are across the country, you have access to Airtel in 4G, and you have access to Airtel Money. Sending money from Airtel Money to Airtel Money is free. Sending to paying bills is also possible. Till ni till with Airtel Money.
Indeed.
Keep it here for more. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Kenya and Tanzania will enhance ties, which include removing trade restrictions. President William Ruto says the first order of business once its cabinet is sworn in will be figuring out how the remaining 14 trade restrictions between Kenya and Tanzania can be lifted.
Tumekubaliana mambo ya utalii kati ya nchi zetu mbili. Tuko na resources ya utalii Kenya na tuko na resources ya utalii hapa Tanzania. Wanyama wale tunao kule Kenya ni wa kutoka huku Tanzania, na wale wenu huku Tanzania ni wa kutoka kule kwetu Kenya, na wanatembea bila matatizo yoyote. Hawahitaji passport, hawahitaji visa, na vile vile ndivyo tunataka tushirikiane. Kama wanyama wanaweza kufanya mambo yao bila matatizo, na sisi tuweze kufanya mambo yetu bila matatizo. Vile vile tumezungumzia mambo ya mawasiliano. Tuko na mambo ya East Africa One Area Network. Tulishakubaliana na Rwanda, Tanzania, Kenya, South Sudan pamoja na Uganda, and I want to congratulate the government of Tanzania for ratifying the One Area Network, and now it's remaining the operationalization of that One Area Network.
Ruto further added that Kenya and Tanzania will expedite the gas pipeline from Dar es Salaam to Mombasa and finally to Nairobi so that quality of life and competitiveness of the region can be addressed and improved upon.
We will now expedite the gas pipeline from Dar es Salaam to Mombasa, eventually to Nairobi, so that we can use the resources that we have in our region to lower energy tariffs, both for industry and for commercial purposes and domestic use in Kenya, as we use the resources we have in our region to improve the quality of life for our people and to also improve the competitiveness of our industries and our investors, so that we can be competitive as a region and be competitive as a country.
Meanwhile, his counterpart Samir Suluhu says that respective technocrats have been directed to start working on the implementation of the gas projects. She said the two countries have agreed on the need to ease the transportation of key energy resources, noting that measures have been put in place on the implementation of the same.
Na kwa ujumla wataalamu walitambua vikwazo 68 ambavyo vilifanyiwa kazi. Vikwazo 54 viliondoka visivyo vya kikodi, non-tariff barriers, na bado kuna vikwazo 14 vimebaki. Kwa sababu Kenya na Tanzania tusishare au tusigawane umaskini na udhalili, lakini tugawane utajiri utakaofanya kupitia kufanya biashara.
And the National Assembly today resumes its sittings, with the first order of business being to elect members who will interview 585 individuals eyeing the principal secretary positions. More than 9,000 people had applied for the positions. The selection committee, appointed by the Parliamentary Service Commission, is led by the chairman, who is the leader of majority, the leader of the minorities, and other members not exceeding 11. The committee will start the process of clearing individuals who will be key in running the Kenya Kwanza government. Education CS George Magoha has revealed that national KCPE and KCSE examinations will kick off on the 28th of next month. Speaking in Kirinyaga during the post-World Teachers' Day celebrations, Magoha assured the candidates that exams will be done on time. He said that the marking will also be completed in December and examination results be released by January 23rd next year.
I want to thank His Excellency the President, William Samoei Arap Ruto, for having decided that CBC is not going anywhere and that it is going to be revised and looked into. That is an intellectual talking, because you know as well as I do that there is nothing perfect. If everything goes on as planned, the exams will start on 28th of November and all the results will have been released by 23rd January, so that we can start a new year normally.
Magoha asked teachers who will be marking examinations to cooperate, promising to have them paid promptly after doing their work well.
I have been to over 1,000 primary schools. I usually don't announce when I'm coming, because if I announce, I'll find people waiting for me to shake their hands. And God is my witness. I have seen your primary school teachers in the classroom engaging animatedly with school children across the country. This is the most transformative thing that our teachers have done. Nobody is singing their song, but if you try to do so, you will find them. And you will also find that the children are enjoying being taught, because now the teaching is learner-centered. I have been to...
I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Tuesday morning, and it's looking busy in most parts of these Nairobi streets. We're looking at traffic that's already started to build up in many parts. If you're coming off Mombasa Road, you shouldn't have too much of an issue then as you are approaching that drift over General Motors. And then coming out through towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, out through Uhuru Highway, still continues to be busy. And we're looking at it building up. It's such a difference from yesterday where there was nothing going on. And then Tuesday comes and boom. Okay, so keep checking it out here, looking at Outer Ring. Traffic also going out towards the backside of the Thika Superhighway, which in turn is building up as you go into the CBD. Tuesday has started really quickly. Children back to school, everybody on the streets. Let's take a look at what it looks like in a short while. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. We're going to keep things moving this Tuesday.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It is 7 minutes after 7. Good morning, and how are you doing? Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is a Situation Room live on SpiceFM on KTN Home, and we're live streaming the show as well on YouTube and Facebook and our website www.standardmedia.co.ke and www.spicefm.co.ke. It's the 11th day of October 2022. It's a big day internationally. It's the International Day for the Girl Child. And we're here to celebrate. We said we're marking it the entire week.
It's a day for the week.
Yeah.
It's a week-long day.
Oh, yes. We started yesterday. We're doing it today. Today now is the day itself. So that budget for hospitality from State House is coming here. We're giving away mandas, and sambusa for everybody. And we've got two guests in the studio. We'll be talking about the work that the Mastercard Foundation and partners have been doing to support the girl child, especially to get dignified and fulfilling work. And before we introduce and welcome the guests, on behalf of C.T. Muga, I have the day's proverb. It's from Ivory Coast. And you said the capital of Ivory Coast, apart from Abidjan. The other one is?
Abidjan. The other one is Yamoussoukro.
So, why don't you just say Yamoussoukro in that language of yours?
Because it's not French.
Okay, so why is Abidjan French? It's Abidjan. From Abidjan and Yamoussoukro, Ivory Coast is English. Here is a proverb in English. It's better a bad wife than an empty house. So that's what they said, man.
Somebody must have been through
an empty house.
No. Have been through both experiences and they realize, hold on a minute. Even with all the whatever you want to call madness and this empty house when you go back to, it's okay. Let me take the quote-unquote bad wife, whatever that is.
So there had to be a lot of discussion and debate on the definition of bad wife for them to arrive at that. That's not for us. We're just doing the proverb. Wangeshi Washira is one of the guests that we have in the studio this morning. She is the executive director at CREW. That's the Center for Rights and Education Awareness. No, Center for Rights, Education and Awareness. Right? I've put the "and" at the right place.
Yes, you did.
And here you are, and welcome.
Thank you. Very happy to be here this morning.
Kenya's biggest conversation. That's a hot seat of the Situation Room.
Oh, excellent.
The privilege is all yours.
Oh, very happy to be here.
She's here alongside Joyce Mushena, who's the head of gender mainstreaming at the Mastercard Foundation. Good morning, Joyce.
Good morning.
Welcome. Feel at home. And to all of you ladies in the house, happy International Day of the Girl Child.
Thank you.
We already did with her, so let's do with the two of you. Speech. Starting with you, Joy. It's a moment for giving a speech. What does it mean, the International Day of the Girl Child? What does that mean, Joyce?
Interesting question. The International Day of the Girl Child, basically, I wish all days would be the Day of the Girl Child, and I think they are. But this day is really chosen out of the many 365 days to take a moment to pause and take a check of what has been going on in the lives of girls in whichever country. In this case, of course, in our very own country and in our communities. What are the gains they are making? What are the challenges they are still facing? And probably what can be done, to propel them to greater heights of thriving in whatever it is they want to do, whether it's education, whether it's training, whether it's having a good time, leisure and all that they need to do as human beings. So it's really celebrating what it means being a girl, what it means being a young woman, and what gifts and talents they bring, and how we can enhance their ability to take advantage of their gifts and talents.
What's the genesis of this? Why was it started, and who started it?
It's a UN day. I mean, like many days that we celebrate, the International Women's Day, the International Day for Persons with Disability, the International Youth Day. I think that the UN, in its wisdom, looks at some of the biggest challenges or problems around the world and determines certain things that need to be done by nations to address those issues. So 10 years ago, this day was elevated as a day in which the world would be encouraged to take a stop and check how the various challenges that girls face in various communities are being addressed, and what the girls themselves would be saying, actually, really putting the girls in the front and center of this messaging. So the why the day is really because the world acknowledges that there are significant challenges that girls tend to face that are not necessarily equally impacting the rest of humanity, either older women or men and boys, by virtue of them being girls, but also by virtue of us living in a society that arranges itself in a manner that often leaves a girl holding the shorter end of the stick most of the time, so to speak. So I'll stop here.
So it's for mainstreaming basically the issues of the girl child, right? We can put it that way, just in summary.
Yes.
Higher.
Thank you.
Wangeshi, the Center for Rights, Education and Awareness, tell us about it. What is it that you do, and where do you do it, and how?
Very, very interesting, and I'm happy to be here. Rightfully, as you said, we're a women's rights organization, but also focusing on issues of girls. So today is a big day for us, celebrating International Day of the Girl. Our work is in different parts of the country, but what is really at the heart of our work is, one, ensuring that we empower women and girls into leadership positions. So like the last general election, we were very, very happy to see more women coming into leadership position. From the position, for example, of the governor, we started with 0, we came to 3, and now we have 7. We are also very, very passionate around issues of economic empowerment. We're also very, very passionate around issues of sexual and reproductive health rights for girls. And finally, also very, very passionate around issues of eliminating violence against women and girls. In fact, as an organization, we run a toll-free line. And it's important that I can be able to share this toll-free line so that if someone is going through violence, they know there is a place they can be able to call. They can be able to get a counselor. They can be able to get a lawyer. They can also be able to be referred to other services in the country. And it runs from 8 in the morning all the way to 5 in the evening. And the number is 0800 720 186. In addition to that, there is also a national toll-free line, which is 1195. That covers the whole of the country. For the children, there is 116. I think it's important for people to have those numbers so that if someone is going through violence, whether it's within their home, whether there's a neighbor, whether it's on their way to school, whether it's coming back from school, if it's happening in school, then there's a place they can be able to seek refuge and really be able to get the services that they do require.
So what do you do if someone made a call to this toll-free line, 0800 720 186?
We're able to listen to you because your voice is very, very important. We're able to listen to you to be able to understand why are you calling us? What is it that you're going through? Some of the cases we have received are cases of young girls who are going through violence, and violence, for example, happening at a home level, violence happening on their way to school, violence happening from people who are around them. So once you make the call, at least you're going to be able to get a lawyer who can be able to listen to you. You can be able to get a counselor, again, who can be able to listen to you. And if it's a matter, then also need to be referred to a police station very close to where you are. We are going to be able to refer you to a police station. We are going to refer you maybe to a medical institution so that then you can be able to get the support. So from both legal, medical, shelter, again, very, very important component. If someone is not able to go back to a home that is violent, then we can also be able to refer you to a shelter so that you can be able to get that refuge.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up a little bit on that, but let me just do it. So someone has called and they're telling you, I am witnessing violence happening to a girl on her way to school.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm in a certain location. Either they've called the national toll-free, which you said is 1195.
Yes.
They've called and they're talking to somebody on the other end. So what do you do immediately? Because the violence is happening as I watch, and I am calling you because there's a violence happening as I watch. So
I think at the end of the call, what we do is really be able to give advice. But there's a bigger responsibility because I could be in Nairobi and this is happening, for example, in Mombasa, meaning the people who are in Mombasa, they are the first hand to be able to get the kind of support that this young girl, rightfully that you said, that can be able to support her so that then she can be able to get the support that she does require. So for us at that point is really to be able to guide, because we are not per se in the site where it is happening. And therefore, the responsibility goes beyond crew who is providing that advice, who is providing that psychosocial support. So there is a bigger responsibility as a citizen than to be able. And the good thing is that at least someone even took time to be able to call. That's the first thing that we should all be able to do so that we're able to get that kind of support. Yeah.
So, I mean, even as this day is being commemorated, there's so many levels of issues and challenges that, by the time you're looking at a full-grown woman who probably still has the issues, and then you look at what a girl would have gone through. I mean, we're not talking about, the urban girl who is of privilege, who is in the minority, but the majority of young girls who don't have access, who don't have opportunity, who then go through gender-based violence, sexual abuse and things like this. So what are some of those issues that we had hoped, or that we hope that even as this day is commemorated, that we can continue to look at then making those non-issues moving into the future?
I think the question you raised is very, very important, because this is an important day that we are celebrating, but also we are acknowledging that there are still so many barriers, and the barriers are quite many, because we are talking about there are still parts of our country, for example, that practice female genital mutilation. In fact, as a country, we have about 22 counties that practice female genital mutilation. What does it happen? What does that mean to a young girl who has gone through female genital mutilation? In some of our communities, what we have seen, as soon as the girl go through female genital mutilation, she's eligible for marriage. What does also that you're talking about early marriages, and it means that this girl then is not able to complete school, like so many other girls in the world who would want to complete their education. We are talking about cases of gender-based violence happening at a home level, happening on their way to school. It also means that as she gives birth as a teen mother. And this country, again, very, very many cases of teen mothers. In fact, when you look at the report from the Ministry of Education, from the Ministry of Health this year, between January and February, they reported about 45,000 girls who are teen mothers. And it means one out of these girls, they're between the age of 10 to 19. Can you imagine a 10-year girl who is a mother? What does that mean for her life? She starts quickly. She has a child. She starts living an adult life, and this adult life means that she has to, for lack of a better word, she has to start to hustle to be able to feed this child. And the data is very clear because it also shows that I think UNFPA again was able to release data showing that about 300,000 girls yearly are not able, they're teen mothers, and only 2% of them go back to school. 2% is a very, very small margin, small percentage of the girls who are not able to go to school. Why are they not able to school? You have a child here, you come home, and then the first thing you're told, you have to take care of the child. You cannot be able to just go bounce back to school. And well, we appreciate that our country, for example, compared, for example, to other countries within the region, Kenya has a very good policy, has very, very good laws. One of the policies that has been put by Ministry of Education is that if a girl gets pregnant, then she can be able to come back to school. That's really positive because what does it mean? It's not encouraging more girls to get pregnant, but what it is doing that in case someone gets pregnant, then they have an opportunity to be able to come back to school.
The pregnancy and childbirth is not a barrier to education.
It's not education. But we also know that giving birth is not as I'm bouncing tomorrow.
You're not going back tomorrow once you've had a child today kind of thing.
It's going to take a toll on you.
You need to have a whole ecosystem to be able to take care of the child so that you can be able to come back to school.
So let's then pivot the conversation to the day and what we want to talk about, which is about dignified and fulfilling work, and what you have been doing with Mastercard Foundation on that. Let's just start with Mastercard Foundation. You know, people not many people know Mastercard Foundation. So just tell us about it then, Joyce. Who is Mastercard Foundation? What do you do? Where? And also your association with any other that has that similar name.
Thank you very much. I think, you've put it well. Maybe not a lot of people know the Mastercard Foundation, but I know also a lot of other people do actually know our work, including our partners, for example, the crew here. So the Mastercard Foundation was founded in 2006 as a private foundation. And this was coming from a gift to young people by Mastercard for Corporate. So Mastercard Foundation is an independent organization run by by its own board of directors, and it's headquartered in Canada. And currently, so in our first decade of work, from 2006 to around 2016, 2017, our biggest focus was on financial inclusion and education for young people across the world, basically. In the current decade, we have a sharper focus on education and employment enablement for young people, largely in Africa and among the indigenous communities in Canada. So we do have a strategic direction that we refer to as Young Africa Works. So Young Africa Works has a bold commitment to reach about 30 million young people who will have achieved dignified and fulfilling work by 2030. And if you double click on that, we also commit that 70% of these 30 million will be young women. So essentially saying 21 million young women in Africa will gain dignified and fulfilling work through the work that the Mastercard Foundation is going to be doing with various stakeholders, governments, private sector, civil society, communities across the continent. We are currently based in 7 countries in Africa, but we do have programs running in more than 7 countries. So Kenya is one of those countries, and within the East African region, we have Uganda, Rwanda, and Ethiopia. And on the Western African side, we have Senegal, Ghana, and Nigeria, where we do have presence. And of course, in Toronto, Canada. Outside of those countries where we have physical presence, we also have a lot of programs running. And this ranges from investment in education, investment in entrepreneurship that enables work creation, which then, through various interventions by our partners, is able to address the barriers that would stop in the way of young people accessing, the right skills to be able to be ready for work, or accessing the right work opportunities and thriving in them. So essentially, that's in a nutshell what we are focusing on. And as I said, for the current decade up to 2030, we are really focusing quite a lot on the African continent. In Kenya, for example, out of the 30 million young people that I just mentioned, Kenya is going to contribute about 7 million.
Okay.
And if you look at our 70% young women target, that translates to about 5 million young women gaining dignified and fulfilling work by 2030.
So, I hear what you're saying. I think to also then understand exactly how then young women specifically, because I remember when the Mastercard did launch Young Africa Works under former President Uhuru Kenyatta a few years ago. So then how does this play out? How does it play out, and what can young women, what can young girls then actually have access to? Are we talking about loans for business? Are we talking about making sure that, a stipend is paid for education? Are we making sure that they can access grants and scholarships for school? How does it then come down to directly impact the girl living in a neighborhood in Nairobi or Kitale or Garissa? How does that then play out, tangibly?
That's a very good question. So, as I mentioned, the foundation does not implement any programs directly. We work with various stakeholders who are in themselves specialists and really well knowledgeable in these areas. So, to give an example, one of the oldest partnerships perhaps that Kenya is familiar with is the Wings to Fly program, which is geared towards scholarship at individual level for both, young men and young women, but of course focuses a lot on girls, as I have mentioned. So that's one example when you think about direct interventions that respond to very direct needs of marginalized young people. So that's scholarship access. But you will also realize that we have other partnerships that create opportunities for other people to access, for example, credit facilities for their businesses, right? And we have a partnership with the Equity Bank, the Equity Group Foundation. We have a partnership with the KCB. We do have a partnership also that enables young people to access skills. And this is, for example, the work we do with Moringa School. So that's very focused on what are the kind of skills that young people need today to be ready for work. And our support, for example, on the TVET, in the TVET space, is also looking at how can we enable technical training institutions to offer the skills that are needed today, the skills that the market in Kenya needs. And so I can go on and talk about our various partnerships. But what I would like to say also is because we are focusing on vulnerable young people, aside from those direct type of interventions, there is also the recognition that we need to create an enabling environment that will give young people the confidence to tap into the opportunities created not only by our partners, but by everyone else. So when you think about problems that Wangeshi mentioned, for example, girls falling pregnant at the age of 10, because we are in a society that almost supports or condones that, a girl who has unfortunately been defiled, we don't take the matter through the justice system. We want to have a little bit of local mechanism there and give the perpetrator of that abuse a soft landing. So what that means then is that a lot more girls who would have benefited from these opportunities fail to do so.
Right.
So in partnership with organizations such as the Center for Rights Awareness and Center for Rights Education and Awareness, FAWE, another organization called the Global Give Back Circle, we are actually looking at the community systems that need to be unlocked and engaged in order to give girls the voice, the space, and the enablement for them to tap into these opportunities. So I'll let Wangeshi speak about their work, but I do hope that when I describe both the individual level type of resourcing and the community level, then you begin to realize that to get ourselves to 7 million young people in Kenya or 30 million young people in the continent, we need to intervene at different levels.
Just to be
at
multi-pronged.
Individual level, at community level, and of course at systemic level, where then we gain an understanding of what are the laws, what are the policies, what are the enablements that young people tap into in order to thrive in their work.
Thank you, Joyce. Let's take a break. When you come back, then Wangeshi, you can tell us what exactly Crew has been doing in this and what kind of impact you've had so far. I'm sure you're reporting to your supporting partners and saying, so this is what we've done. And this is how far we've gone in the Young Africa Works strategy. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. It's the day, International Day of the Girl Child, and we're celebrating and commemorating it today, looking at what the Mastercard Foundation and partners have been doing with the Young Africa Works strategy, the strategy of making sure that at least 7 million Kenyans have access to dignified and fulfilling work by 2030, 5 million of them being young girls in the country. So, the Executive Director for the Center for Rights, Education and Awareness, Wangeshi Wachira, is here with us. And Joyce Mushena, who's the head of gender mainstreaming at the Mastercard Foundation, is here with her as well. We are talking about this as we gear up towards the end of the month when we shall all be running. And it is an opportunity to recruit 2 ladies.
Look, I've been doing it all month. And I'm trying to get two more to run with me at the Nairobi Standard Chartered Marathon. It's taking place on the 30th of October. But you know what? Sometimes we feel the pressure. Okay, the day everybody's there. There's the virtual run. It takes place between the 23rd and the 30th. So, we can do our thing, stretch, start to feel like an athlete. And then on the day we're ready, then we can do the run, log the times, put it up, and you'll find it on the leaderboard. So you don't run away from the pressure of the day. But still, we can still train and then run on the day. There's a 42 kilometers. 21 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 5 family day. Yeah, there's a 5. There's
5 kilometers.
There's 5. We can do it together. It's great because it's for a good cause. Yeah, there's virtual. There's virtual. There's virtual. So you clock your time and then we can move from there. No pressure.
Run in your own space.
That's it. At your own
and
pace.
Appear on the international leaderboard. Yeah?
We do.
Yeah. So register today on nairobimarathon.com and select the one you'd like to participate in, either the virtual or the physical run, and then you go for whichever race. So virtual does not have 5 kilometers. We start at 10, okay?
The virtual one?
Yeah, we start at 10, into 21, into 42. And then the physical one has 42, 21, 10, and 5.
Okay.
Choose your race. Choose wisely. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The sun is peaking in Nairobi, highs of 27 and lows of 14. It's 14 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 25 today. And we'll see highs of 25 as well. In Nyeri, where it's sunny at 12, 14 and partly sunny conditions in Eldoret, highs of 24 and lows of 12. Partly sunny conditions at 23 in Mombasa, highs of 29. And 29 will also be the high in Malindi, where it's raining at 25. 20 and partly sunny conditions in Kisumu, highs of 28. And we'll see highs of 27, where it's partly sunny at 18 in Kakamega. The sun is up in Kampala as well at 19, highs of 28. And we'll see highs of 30 in Dar es Salaam, where it's also shining this morning. 14 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 28 and lows of 19. And Lagos is partly cloudy, rain away for a change, highs of 30 and lows of 24. Partly cloudy conditions at 23 in Kinshasa, with highs of 33. We'll see lows of 22. All right, Tuesday morning started with a bang after the slow day we saw yesterday in terms of traffic. It's really busy then going on North Airport Road towards Outer Ring. Looking at Lunga Lunga, Jogo Road, in and outbound traffic has already begun. Langata Road is busy and it's spilling over into South Sea, then connecting with Mombasa Road out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Looking at Limu Road, that packed up real tight, real fast. Doing the same thing on Kiambu Road today, well into Kiambu Road, well past Coffee Gardens. And we're also looking at traffic heavy, bumper to bumper on the Thika Superhighway. Service lane, service lane, service lane. What did I say? Service lane. Use it. It will help. Coming off James Gishoro as you go towards Wayaki Way, that continues as well. It's just 7:30 and it looks like it's going to be a busy one. Tell us what's going on where you are this morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Want to keep things moving this morning.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Conversation
94.4.
International Day of the Girl Child. We are commemorating this morning by looking at the Young Africa Work Strategy and how far we've come. In the studio with us is Joyce Mushena, the head of gender mainstreaming at the Mastercard Foundation, and Wangeshi Washira, Executive Director at CREW, the Center for Rights Education and Awareness, implementing partner for this strategy with the Mastercard Foundation. They are looking at making sure that by the time we get to 2030, which is 7 years and 3 months time, some 7 million young Kenyans will have gotten into dignified and fulfilling work, 5 million of them being young girls. And this strategy started in 2016. Is it? 2018. So it's 4 years down the road. Okay. So as CREW, you've been partners with this. So how do you tap into this? How do you come in? What do you do?
Our journey with the Mastercard Foundation started at the height of COVID-19, and this is because of some of the measures that were put by government of Kenya, and were important measures to be able to reduce the spread of COVID. Some of the measures, for example, were the closure for schools, the stay at home or work from home, and we know that for some women, home is not the safest for them. That's where actually violence does happen. So we did. The foundation actually did reach out to us to be able to see how can we be able to respond to cases of gender-based violence that were being reported in different parts of the country. So we came in together as 3 organizations and we were able to provide legal support, psychosocial support, but we also went to the communities where all this was happening. In total, we worked in 10 counties. We were able to provide dignity kits, and this is because if you look at our education system, a lot of pads are given in school. Now you have a big population of girls at home, and through the foundation, we were able to distribute pads to girls at home. We were able to have a conversation with the local leaders to see how do we keep the girls safe, even as we continue to stay at home. But also, while all that was happening, we knew that shelter was a big a gap when it comes that someone is calling, they're looking for support. Well, you can give them advice, but where do they go? 72 hours, someone need to have gotten kind of response. And this response is from medical. So what we did, we also supported in total about 10 shelters in the country, whereby they are able to get in, be able to be in that space and be able to get refuge. But really what warms my heart in this work is that as an organization and in partnership with the foundation, we're able to set the first survivors fund in the country. What does the Survivors Fund mean? We know when someone has been kicked out of their home, they have very little to carry from there. Or they've made a decision to get out of there. The logbook, for example, if they have one, is not under their name. If there's a title deed, perhaps is not in their name, perhaps is a joint. And where do you start from? So as a foundation, we thought it would be very, very important to support women who are survivors of violence to be able to access credit. And what we are doing is that they can be able to access this credit from 10,000 all the way to 500,000 to be able to rebuild their lives. So some of the stories you've heard from the women is that as a result of accessing this fund is that I have been able to rebuild my life. I have been able to move from an environment that is abusive. And if they decide to stay in that environment that is abusive, a number of things are shifting there, because money is also power. When you have some of that little money, it shifts the conversation. So we are seeing that by setting this kind of a fund, and we have even influenced at national level. Remember, Kenya is part of the Generation Equality Committee, and what Kenya has done is one of the commitment is to set a survivors fund. So we are hoping that by learning from what we are doing, it really can be able to influence at the national level. And building onto that work, very, very important, is that we know that, again, through COVID, a lot of girls became very, very pregnant. And we are working closely with FAWE Kenya and Kenya Red Cross. And in total, we're in about 20 counties. Perhaps I could just mention some of the counties, because it's important for people to be able to understand where we are and where we are doing this work. So we're in Nakuru, we're in Nairobi, we're in Machakos, we're in Elgeyo Marakwet, we're in Kiambu, Garissa, Bungoma, Kakamega, Nyeri, Migori, Murang'a, Kajiado, Narok, Homa Bay, Trans Nzoia, Nyandarua, Busia, Meru, Siaya, and Turkana. Those counties, what we are looking is that they are girls who dropped out of school during COVID and after COVID. How do we retain them back to school? How do they come back to school? What is it that we must be able, what are the conversations that we must be able to have at a family level? Because I think all the values start at a family level.
Yep.
How does the whole religious institutions come to play? How do parents and guardians become part of this conversation? Because if a girl has given birth, somebody got to take care of the child so that then they can be able to come back to school. And it has been seen that women who've been able, or young women who've been able to go to school, the outcomes are totally different. Whether it's around their health, whether it's the number of babies they want to have, I think the conversation does happen, change there. So what we're also looking at, how do we increase budget allocation? Budget in this country is a big one. In this recent budget for this year, the Cabinet Secretary, Professor Magoha, is on record that the budget for sanitary towels shifted from 470 million to 260 million. That's half the budget. What does that mean for a girl used to access sanitary pads in the school? It's reduced. They are not likely to have. So what we are doing is to be able to come and fill that gap and be able to provide sanitary pads for girls so that they can be able to be in school. And the days are many. If she's experiencing her periods 5 days in a month, in a year, how many days are those?
60.
Those are 60. Those are 2 months.
It's 2 months.
If someone is going to miss school 2 months in a year, and if they started their periods in class 7, what does that mean for by the time she gets to Form 4? It means that she's going to lose a number of days, not even a number. She's going to lose many days in school and therefore not be able to compete at the same level. So what we are doing is to be able to influence policy, one, to ensure that we have a budget increase, and this is at the national level, but also at the county level, because the counties also continue to receive resources from the from Treasury. What we are also doing is to be able to see how can these girls also be able to have a voice.
Yeah.
Because I think most of the time these decisions are made by other
made
policies.
for them.
They're made for them. So we're also looking at where do we create this platform so that then they they have a voice, they have their agency, and therefore an opportunity for them to be able to speak around issues that really matter to them. So these spaces so that the young girls can talk about their sexual and reproductive health rights, they can talk about issues of them accessing dignified work, for them to be able to come back to school, and really a conversation that brings everybody together. The parents, we are not leaving the parents behind. We are not leaving the religious institution behind. We are also not leaving the boys in school, because I think there is this conversation around that we are focusing on the girls and leaving the child. And not remembering that where are we coming from? Why are we focusing on the girls? It's because for a long time they have been marginalized, and we are trying to put all the resources so that then we can be able to bring them a foot forward, to be able to bridge the gap. And of course then working with the other duty bearers, whether it's the police, whether it's the magistrates, whether they're working with the health facility, so that then they can be able to provide that kind of ecosystem.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Joyce, for you, I mean, looking at MasterCard, and then obviously these interventions, we can see why they have been done very clear. A lot of them, as we see, are solutions for a current problem. No pads in school, we buy pads. That's clear. Girl is pregnant, was not able to go to school. Can we come in and say, let this be done so that she can go back to school? Inability to go to school for lack of resources, there are scholarships available. Now, in terms of continuity, thereafter that intervention has been made, what then would you say is the thought? To say, all right, fine, we've gotten her to school, we've bought what needs to be bought, but then there is life after the intervention. So where does that, are there plans around that?
Yeah, I would like to build upon Wangeshi's point around who else is losing sleep about this problem, right? So at the foundation, at the Mastercard Foundation, what we are actually looking at is the entire ecosystem of enablers. So earlier on, I talked about those individual level type of interventions. They are needed, for sure. Like if a girl needs a pad, she needs a pad. No question about it. But there's also the community in which they are living. So the problem of, for example, childcare that stands in the way of either a girl going back to school or a young woman being able to start a business and run it is a community level type of problem that together with our partners we are asking, how can we have sustainable mechanisms of childcare that will permit these young women to move back to school and concentrate, or move back to work, or move back to their businesses and run. Do we have solutions? The answer is no. Do we have the space for conversations? Yes. Because what you're describing as, come in, fix a problem, and go, is what perhaps we at the foundation recognize as the challenge that we have to tackle. It's not about throwing money at problems. It's about having conversations about how can we actually dent this problem significantly enough for the solutions created to last long after we have left this space. And when you look at our work and the kind of partnerships we are bringing on board, we're really looking at leveraging the power of non-traditional actors. So the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, for instance, is one of our partners. If you look at their current gender policy, which they launched this year, you actually begin to see a private sector that acknowledges that the community problems that the people face are their business, right? Looking at the problem of violence against women, for example. I mean, a battered woman is not good for your business because they are either using their money to go get treated. or they are losing time that they should be using for work. So getting into partnerships with players that have not necessarily always stayed long enough with this cause to be able to find solutions. when you think about our work with private sector, for example, you begin to elevate the conversation beyond piecemeal interventions into having conversations that will touch onto policy, that will help, can I say, resourcing to tackle these problems that is beyond any one funder. I would like to touch on, for example, what Wangeshi mentioned in terms of a survivors fund as an example. In the continent, I think only South Africa has a public-private funded fund for survivors of domestic violence. Kenya is probably going to be the second country if then the learnings coming from Jasiri Fund are going to catalyze that movement. What does that mean to our country moving forward? Is that the problem of suffering violence at home ceases to be the burden of the victim and actually becomes a burden
for the community,
for the society,
yes.
Private public partnerships. So we are really getting into this catalytic space where we are saying, let's have conversations we've not had traditionally. We have some resources, yes, but that's not the solution. The solution is getting communities to speak to each other, getting men, women to look at the problem of unemployment, for example, and ask, what is it we can do to enable our young women and our young men to engage meaningfully? So I'd like to give an example of one of our interventions that I find really fascinating. It's called the Anzisha Prize. The Anzisha Prize targets very young people, like 15 to 22, that want to go into business. So when you imagine the kind of conversations that these children are going to have with their parents, with their communities, as they curate their business idea, you begin to see a movement of everyone having their noses in the same direction, having coming to the table to say, what kind of solution, whether it's a social enterprise or whether it's actually a business that we're going to set up to solve the problems that we see. So currently, actually, if anyone would like to check out the applications for Anzisha Prize are on. It's I think Anzisha. I'll check the actual login. You can check anzishaprize.org and figure out if you qualify and put in your application. That is the one of the interventions that brings a lot of people together. The community, the parents, the children themselves. Girls literally creating solutions for other girls. And one of the things that has been interesting for us is that the businesses that are run by young people have a tendency to employ more young people.
Indeed.
Right? So it's a refreshing kind of idea to think about. And so back to your question about around, is it piecemeal? Is it just solve the problem today and by 2030 we are out of this place? We do really want to trust that by 2030 the ripple effect of what we are doing today is going to continue creating a momentum of change that is unstoppable.
Joyce, you've mentioned a number of times dignified and fulfilling work. Why must we say work and then start with dignified and fulfilling? What does it mean? What's dignified and what's fulfilling?
That's a very good question. So one of the realizations for our focus on young women is that young women are concentrated in the informal workspaces. And in those spaces, you will find realities such as working long hours, not earning enough, and the conditions of work are not necessarily, extremely supportive, favorable for them to thrive. So what does dignity mean and what does fulfillment mean? We actually did ask young people that exact question. And the reason we double our quantitative target with a qualitative target is because it's not every work that you get necessarily gives you the opportunity to thrive according to your, best abilities. So dignity for young people, as they told us, is where their safety is guaranteed. Workspaces that do not subject them to sexual harassment, for example. Where they are paid equal pay for equal work, where, the kind of work conditions are favorable for them. The commute to work, for example, we know the dangers that young women will be facing if they are, caught in some some hours of the night, for example, pose extra challenges for young women. And of course, also the whole area of what are you earning and how does it compare to the economic situation in your country, right? So it's a whole package of not only getting work, and by work we mean either an opportunity to start your own business, an opportunity for employment. So it's either wage payment or your own enterprise. It has to fulfill your basic needs, but also give you the opportunity to step up to the next level. That is the area of dignity, and safety, and so on and so forth. I don't know if Wangechi would like to add, because that's really the dignity part is where they support our work a lot.
I think Joyce has captured very, very well in terms of if you're employed, is it a conducive environment? Is there safety? I think constantly we've seen young women in spaces where sexual harassment is the order of the day. What is it that the employers can be able to do to ensure that environment is safe? One, of course, is to ensure that there is sexual harassment policy that is well understood by everybody. And if they report, then someone is going to hear them and not victim blame them, because I think there's a lot of that happens. If it's within is it possible for everyone to be paid at the same level that both men and women, young men and young women,
same pay for same work?
Exactly. Is it possible that also as the transition, we can also be able to see them from high school to the tertiary and universities, and for them to be able to access that opportunity. Right now, I think we have seen a big mass of young women who are moving to some of the Arab countries going to look for jobs. Are they dignified? These are the issues that we are talking about. And when we speak about dignifying, is that really dignified? When we see them being violated, when we see them seeking for job opportunity there, and when they get out there, then they are further violated. Violated because they could not be able to get opportunity. So as we celebrate today, I think there is a lot of work that need to be done. It's good to celebrate, but we're also very aware that we must be able to amplify the things that are holding back the women from accessing jobs that are dignified, but also for them to be able to thrive.
Stepping up to the next level.
Oh, yes.
Ladies, thank you very much. And as you step out of the studio, we wish you again a happy International Day of the Girl Child. Wangechi Wachira is from Crew, and Joyce Mushena is the head of gender mainstreaming at the Mastercard Foundation. Conversations continue in the next hour. 1 hour is over. It's a short time, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
It's very, very short.
By the International Human Rights Organization, Equality Now indicates that Kenya is a hotspot for the commercial sexual exploitation of children in East Africa. This year's theme for the International Day of the Girl Child is "Our Time is Now, Our Rights, Our Future." The focus is on the multitude of challenges put in front of girls' paths to reach their potential. This has been made worse by the ongoing crisis of climate change, COVID-19 and humanitarian conflicts around the world. Girls struggle with issues issues related to their education, their physical and mental wellness, and leading a life without violence. According to the report, sexual abuse of minors is perceived to be influenced by multiple factors exacerbated by negative social norms and cultural practices, poverty, and social media platforms that circulate sexualized images. Children comprise half of the survivors seeking post-rape care. As we celebrate the girl today and women at large, let's remember to be our carekeeper and get rid of the stereotypes that exist. And a postmortem of the late Ainabkoi Member of Parliament William Chepkot is set to happen today. The former Ainabkoi MP passed on Saturday at his home after being unwell for some time. The late Chepkot, who lost his seat in the August elections, will be laid to rest next week, October 18th, at the Kapsunde home in Uasin Gishu County. Funeral arrangements are in top gear, even as leaders and residents continue to throng the deceased home to condole with the family. The politician was in and out of hospital since 2021. In June last year, he fainted at a city hotel and was hospitalized for close to 2 months and would later undergo a 36-hour surgery after fracturing his hand. And a Kenyan voter has proposed changes to the constitution, key among them seeking to reward the run-up in the presidential election with a slot in the National Assembly. The voter identified as Nyongesa Mahanu also wants the running mate to be given a seat at the Senate after losing. Mahanu, who is an architect by profession, has subsequently petitioned the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission seeking authority to collect 1 million signatures for the process to amend the constitution. According to Mahanu, the 2010 constitution presents a major setback, hence denying Kenyans the opportunity to have an effective parliamentary oversight of the executive. He has further proposed that the president needs to be from a third community other than that of the retiring or the predecessor. This limitation, he said, once enacted, will not apply to the sitting president and his deputy. In addition, Mahanu wants the general election held on the third Tuesday of December after every 5 years. He argues that holding the elections on the second Tuesday of August affects national economic activities negatively. And 11.5 million Kenyans are suffering from mental illness and lack the required mental health services. WHO, while marking the International Mental Health Day, has asked Kenyan government and various stakeholders to come up with strategies to strengthen mental health services. WHO says Kenya currently only has 100 psychiatrists, which means one specialist serves 500,000 people, this being 100 times less than the organization's recommendations. A WHO report shows that in Africa, 11 people per 100,000 die annually by suicide, with men being the most affected as they don't like speaking out when stressed. And the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has finalized a search operation in regards to 3 separate corruption incidents where senior Siaya County government officials are alleged to have embezzled 872 million shillings. In a statement, EACC said it had searched all the targeted places and seized a variety of crucial documentary, electronic and other relevant material that will assist the ongoing investigations. In one of the incidents, senior Siaya County officials are alleged to have withdrawn 400 million shillings from county coffers in a series of suspicious withdrawals within 12 days after the August elections. This, the EACC says, happened despite a directive by the new Governor James Orengo stopping procurement, payment of allowances and pending bills. In the second incident, the Anti-Graft Board is probing allegations of abuse of office and fraudulent acquisition of public funds amounting to 72 million shillings in the installation of an ICU unit in Siaya Referral Hospital. The Commission is also probing allegations of fraudulent acquisition of 400 million shillings meant for the construction of an ultra-modern stadium by the Siaya County Government. This is Newswire. Dennis Asento, good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, traffic still heavy in many parts of the city this morning. We're looking at it coming towards North Airport Road and then spilling over towards Outer Ring. Likoni Road is doing the thing and it's spilling over to that interchange connecting with the Southern Bypass this morning. So watch out for that if you're headed in that direction. Lunga is busy, as is Jogo Road. And then Landis Road going towards Kamkunji, also very busy. We have some children going back to school today. Of course, it didn't take them too long after that one-day break, so there's movement in the city. All right, Gong Road, also busy. Looking at that whole Naivasha Road stretch going towards Gitanga Road, there's a whole network of traffic. And then spilling over to James Gishuru, Wayaki Way, really busy inbound, as is the Thika Superhighway. It's red all through, well into Kiambu County this morning. Obviously, Tuesday has started. In and outbound traffic is heavy on Kiambu Road as well. Keep your wits about, folks. Let's know what's going on where you are, and we're trying to keep things moving. Talk to us, SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
7 minutes after 8. Good morning, and how are you doing?
The
Welcome
only way to start your day
of the Situation Room on SpiceFM, KT and Home, and online. We're talking about fitness this hour, and we're talking about running for a good cause. It's more than a marathon that's going to be taking place at the end of this month, the 30th of October, 2022. Mimi, Wewe, Kilamutu, Southern Bypass.
We running.
42 kilometers. Divide by 5. Yes. Everybody is going to run, and that's what we want to talk about, as Ndu has been recruiting people. She's recruited 2 ladies this morning already.
This morning?
Yep.
Nice.
People who are running. So you can run the physical race on the 30th, or you can run the virtual race from the 23rd to the 30th.
Yes.
And the virtual race is 42 kilometers, 21 kilometers, 10 kilometers. And you choose wherever you're running from, whether it's in Kenya or abroad.
Global.
Overseas. Go global, all right? Wherever you are, if you're across the country, you can actually register on the NairobiMarathon.com. Register for the virtual run if you're not able to come to Nairobi for that day, and you will be able to download the Strava app, and you will have a way in which you'll be logging your timelines. If you're using an Airtel line, you have access to Airtel 4G across the country. So there's no issue about, nikimbie juu ya mlima, then I find it's due connectivity. No, wherever you are, Airtel 4G across the country. We have 2 guests in the studio. Before we welcome them, let me tell you this proverb from Ivory Coast. I'm just relaying the proverb, okay? It's better a bad wife than an empty house.
Wow.
Wow, right? Wow.
David said yes.
Our 2 guests in the studio. David Lawrence is Associate Principal for Marketing and Head of Communication at Standard Chartered Kenya PLC. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Latif.
And Albert Otieno is a fitness enthusiast and the founder of Zoezi Maisha. Albert, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
Kapoa, and your camera ikushike vizuri.
Okay.
Global. Right. When you hear this proverb, David, why do you say aye? Or did you say yes?
He nodded his head.
Yeah, I was like, wow, okay. I mean, everybody focuses on getting a good wife. They say somebody gets a wife, gets a good thing. He doesn't talk about a good wife, so just got me thinking.
He who gets a wife gets a good thing.
Yeah.
And obtains favor from the Lord.
Yeah, it doesn't say a good wife. So
it's not he who gets a good wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that got me thinking. But
so this is in line with the Bible then, eh?
Yeah.
The Ivorians want
good is relative.
And good is relative as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just as well as bad is relative.
Exactly.
What do you make of that,
All of
Albert?
it.
I think I look at it from the fitness perspective.
Yeah.
You'd rather do something than to stay idle or just inactive. So I think I'll buy that idea. It's better have something than nothing. From the
Heri
fitness
nusu ya
perspective.
shari.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Albert, what do you do? What is Zoezi Maisha?
Zoezi Maisha, thank you so much. Zoezi Maisha is a fitness club. We actually thrive in ensuring that people live a very active and healthy lifestyle. You know what hit us 2 years ago. You saw how many guys suffered because of their lifestyle. So we decided that instead of guys living inactive lifestyle, we came up with a club. It's a fitness club whereby guys register by only having a t-shirt. We try as much as possible to make fitness affordable and accessible. Unlike other clubs whereby you have to cough some good amount of money, we decided that no, fitness should be as interesting, accessible, and affordable.
As barrier-free as possible.
Absolutely. So we began last year. Right now we are over 164 members across the globe, as I said earlier. And Kisumu being one of the towns global cities. We have guys in South Africa, UK. Nairobi is the main center where we have over 112 members. So what we normally do, we do mapping. Guys come from different estates. You say, okay, well, we have guys from Eastlands, we have guys from maybe Langata, Karen, Ongata Rongai, so that we organize weekend runs. These weekend runs actually help guys to improve on their runs in terms of mileage, even forms, because as the coach, I also look into how guys do their run, because running is not just moving forward. There's so many other things involved. How you step forward,
how you swing your arms.
Yeah, there's so many things that are really involved in jogging or running, for that matter. So our main focus is to enhance a healthy lifestyle in our society. This is based on the backdrop of what happened during the COVID period. That is how Zoezi Maisha has actually come up.
You know, one of the biggest barriers to a healthy and fit lifestyle is not necessarily the money.
Exactly.
It's a mindset, right?
Sure.
How do you make that then an easy one, so that you eliminate this barrier here of
of course,
running how many kilometers?
Of course, it requires discipline and consistency. And based on the previous testimonies, because you find that some guys who have walked with us this long journey, so when we feature them, people get some inspiration that, hey, why can't I join this club? I know when you're in a group of people, you wake up in the morning, like in our group, you wake up at 4 o'clock, you find somebody has done like 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. You wonder, what happened? Where can't I go out and do something better than this, or just the same amount of kilometers like this? So the motivation that comes in the group is quite amazing, because this is where guys get their energy from. And unlike when you're just alone, like you said earlier, waking up in the morning can be a bit tricky unless you're going to be paid. Here you are going to be paid because you're going to spend less on hospital bills. That commitment actually helps you so much in reducing your hospital bill, because you know what our health infrastructure in this country looks like. So I tend to believe that teamwork, like yesterday we are doing a recce along Southern Bypass where the marathon will be held at. And the guys, some ladies in our group did their personal best in terms of 21 kilometers. They've never done 21 kilometers. But because they were in a group, we were running together. There's that motivation, there's that joy. Hey, twende pamoja. Let's go, keep pushing. The 2 ladies who did amazing job, and we were like, huh? They could even, their husbands were like, hey, kumbe nakanga na athlete kwa nyumba bwana. That's about the group.
They saw money.
Yes.
They saw Boston, next Boston, London,
How
Chicago,
can we cultivate
money.
this?
Exactly, yes. Yeah. Actually the group is going very fast. And if you look at the trend, I believe that in the next few years Nairobi will be a running nation, a running city, sorry.
Yeah.
It's
interesting because now with the marathon, David, obviously, then we're seeing a lot of people who are getting ready for the marathon.
Yes.
Probably I look at the marathon over the years, that it's been held in Nairobi, and looking at the time now that more people are then vested in training early so that they can perform better. But at the same time, killing another bird with the same stone, whereby health and fitness becomes a thing. Did Standard Chartered ever think that you get to the point whereby the marathon then is fueling the desire to be healthier?
It's actually very interesting, and we started realizing this when we started working very closely with running clubs, like now Zoezi Maisha, and just getting them early in into the conversation of the marathon, pre-marathon events that we've organized, to help guys prepare for the 2022 Nairobi Marathon, and he's always there with his Zoezi Maisha team, and the other running clubs, the Urban Swarers, and you can see the buy-in, and they actually register as a group, and that's one thing that technology has allowed us to ensure that if you want to register as a group, you come register as a group, you run as a group,
Right.
so we create some activity along the route, and this year, and when he was talking about beating your best time, we actually working with running clubs to have, they call it a bus, and these are pace setters, So if you want to do 2 hours, if you want to do 1 hour, if you want to do 5 hours, there's a specific group with a flag telling you this is the 5-hour group. Stick with us along the marathon, and we're going to implement it, I think, for the first time actually in this year's marathon, because we've realized people, as long as they do it for fun, for being healthy and active, they also want to achieve better timing.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay. And I experienced that in Kilimanjaro Marathon. We said, why can't we do it for Stanchart? And now we have a team of guys, and you stick with the team. You say, I want to do 3 hours. That's my target. You stick with the 3-hour team. They have music. They have a psych squad, and they bring in some energy. Before you realize it, you might even be doing the 2 hour, 2.5 hours, So it's very interesting, and it's really catching up, and we can see that in the registration. I think this year we are a bit ahead in terms of registration and response we are getting. More people are registering early. Because they're actively engaged in events,
they own it.
events. They now own it, and they're taking part in different preparation, marathon, pre-marathon events. And I think there's a mind shift in terms of I need to register early. Yeah.
What are these pre-marathon events that have been taking place, and when did they begin? When do they end?
Yeah.
How can one join one?
Yes. So we just did our last one though, unfortunately, last Saturday. And that one was, dedicated to our sponsors. We have over, I think, 15 sponsors this year. And these are bringing, of course, it's building into the experience, because all these guys bring in different capabilities. Even in the village, when you're done with the run, you want to have a bite, a healthy bite. You want to hydrate. You want to have a kanyama bite, or you want, what these people like, some liquor, some caboose there, biela there. So we're trying to bring an entire experience in the village. So after the run, so we're celebrating our sponsors this warm-up race. We've had 3 this year. The first one was dedicated to running clubs, and a number of them actually showed up. The second one was for persons with disability, and we've launched a program to also help them prepare. It's an inclusive training program that is targeting all persons with disability, be it visual, physical, intellectual, and we've dedicated or themed these warm-up races targeting different categories of participants of the marathon. And they are simple 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer. For guys who want to stretch a little bit, we do 21 kilometers, and we do it within the running community, the Nairobi, the green spaces like Karura, Arboretum.
Parklands.
I think we did one at Parklands, which is also a very active club. And they have this every month they have a monthly run. We plugged into those races, so we've gone to plugging into existing races as opposed to organizing our own races, so that we can support that active lifestyle that is already happening in the community, and also promote the marathon. And I think the response was good. We have over 400 people turning up every time, to participate. Yeah.
So, like, in terms of numbers, what are we looking at already for those who are going to run the marathon this year, and then those who are going to do the virtual run as well?
Yeah. So, overall, we're targeting 25 participants, 25,000, sorry. 15,000 for the physical. I think right about now we are approaching 10K. 10K. I think as of last week we were around 7 something. The run rate, the daily run rate has really gone up in terms of registration. Majority of these are actually corporates. And I think corporates are seeing opportunity to engage with their employees, encourage an active lifestyle, within their workforce.
Yeah.
And I think that will translate into the insurance, claims that they get, from employees. I mean, as Standard,
There's
I think
motivation.
we've seen that drop, and we see at Standard, even the HR, they send a lot of comms and organize virtual calls and try to get people out of their homes and their desk to be active because they're seeing it reflects on claims. So corporates, big numbers. Some give us 300 plus numbers, and this is yearly. Every year they sponsor 300 staff members to come participate. Individual registration is also picking up, and I think the response is good. The virtual, we are trying also to tap into our network as a bank to have more staff from across Uganda, Tanzania, say UAE, Europe, also register and participate. So that one is ongoing. The virtual numbers are still very low. So, just calling on somebody if you're not able to...
What do you think this is? Do you think there is less awareness and maybe confusion around what virtual is? Because every time we talk about virtual, you always see somebody else squinting their eyes and thinking, what do you mean by virtual run?
Yes, and that concept is difficult. And I think you got it. When you're doing your introduction, you talked about virtual. I was like, wow, Latif actually gets it. So virtual is you wake up, you run from wherever you are. You track it on a device, either your smartwatch or the running apps. We have several, Runkeeper, Strava. And then our website is smart enough to detect. When you upload it, it will be able to pick up, the timing and create a leaderboard for the virtual run. I think we got a good response last year, maybe because of COVID, and we restricted the number of physical participation last year. But this year, you're back to a full-blown marathon, and I have a feeling we might hit more than 15,000 in terms of registration. It might go back to the 2019s where we hit 18,000 runners. So virtual participation is still open for anybody outside of Nairobi. If you're not able to travel to Nairobi and run with that physically, you can still run from Kisumu, Mombasa. We have satellite runs there, and we have clients and staff members organizing. I'd call them mini marathons, but all registered for the virtual.
Explain that a little bit as you answer this question, because Jackie is asking, why has this run never been commissioned in other counties? I know one can do the virtual one, but I want to run physically. But in Mombasa, I don't have to travel all the way to Nairobi.
So yes, it's a good thing we're having 3 satellite runs. I'll call them satellite runs. One will be in Kakamega. So Masinde Muliro will be hosting it.
On the same day?
Not on the same day. They'll do it on a Friday.
Okay.
They'll do it on a Friday. So the week of the virtual marathon, which runs from 23rd to 30th. So you can do a virtual run. So Masinde will have one on the Friday of 28th. And then in Kisumu, we'll have it on the same day. And we see even county governments are really interested, and they're coming on board to, participate, create some excitement, around the city. Mombasa is the same. Even the county government are really interested in having conversation. That organization is ongoing. So inviting our clients.
When is the Mombasa run?
Mombasa run is on the 29th.
Okay. So 28th
Sorry,
is
23rd. 23rd, a week before.
23rd
They wanted to have more of attention, drawn to Mombasa.
Focused on
Mombasa. So
trust Abdul Swamad to do this. 28th is Kakamega and Kisumu.
28th is Kakamega. Kisumu is on the 30th. They want to do it on the same day as the marathon day. For Mombasa is on the 23rd. So they'll do a 5 kilometer and a 10 kilometer run. For Kakamega, I think they'll do both, 5, 10, and 21. For Kisumu, they'll do 5 and 10.
So then will their timings then be on the leaderboard as well?
It will be on the virtual leaderboard.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
It will be so for you to participate in those races, you have to register for the virtual run.
Okay.
So you go on the platform, you choose virtual, you choose your distance, you register. We are able to actually send them kits. Because it's within Nairobi. Even outside of Nairobi, if you want to register and get your kit, you can still get it. But we've partnered with DHL to do the deliveries for us outside of Kenya or Nairobi.
Yeah.
So you can register virtually in Kisumu, get your running kit, and get your medal on the day.
Voila.
When do people start receiving their kits?
So we close registration on the 16th. After that, kit distribution starts on the 23rd of October till 29th of October.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so Albert, somebody wants to participate in the marathon, doesn't even have an idea of what a running shoe looks like, has never done more than a simple trot from their car to the office, and wants to participate and says, okay, short of having a heart attack if I get onto the Southern Bypass on the 30th, what then should they do to start getting into, this? I want to register today, but I've never done, and there are many people who would want to, but they say, okay, so how is my body going to be able to take this? What would you say? How can they start off? I mean, we've got 2 weeks.
And I think, thank you so much. I think this is an area that we need to handle carefully because you see, they've given us some provisions. We have 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer, 21 and 42. For a beginner who has never moved an inch. Very funny. I think it's just good to start by walking. Listen to your body because you'll always know when your body is adjusting. So if you have never done it before, I would suggest you just register now. These 3 weeks are enough for you to probably prepare for a 5 kilometer walk. Just because it's a fun, you can walk with the other because it's more of a family thing. So you don't need to think of doing a 21 or a 42 with the pace that you've never done before because you've not trained. For instance, I'll give a very good example. Kipchoge he has been training for a whole year and he only made 1 second improvement. You see that? There's a lot of preparation. So for someone who has never done a marathon before, I'll advise you to just start now. Register first, of course. Once you register, you have this short, I call it short, 5 kilometers, a very short distance. You can come, walk, even if it takes you a whole day to walk a 5 kilometer. The organizers are very keen enough and they're more caring. They'll give you that provision to walk, get to the finish line. The most important thing is to get to the finish line. Some of us, I'll give a very good example. In 2017, when I just began my journey, my fitness journey, I was around 104 kgs. And I was a bit ambitious, though I'd done a bit of some runs before, like some 3-4 months, but still I found 21 quite difficult. It took me almost 4 hours to do a 21 kilometer. That's a half marathon. Right now, because of the experience and the training that I've done since then, my personal best for half a marathon is 1 hour 21 minutes. And I'm probably targeting less than 1 hour, 20 minutes this year. If God willing, based on my training, I'm focusing so much on 119, 118, 1 hour, 18 minutes, which is quite doable. That's a pace of around 3.5 per kilometer. So it's all about training. But for someone, as I said earlier, for someone who is interested to register, don't be discouraged. This is an opportunity for you to launch your fitness journey. Just register. The links are there. But don't be ambitious.
Start walking.
You'll get there. Trust me, you'll get there. I remember I struggled. And I'll do that with you this time. We'll do a 5 kilometer.
You'll tell us about that start walking and the struggle.
And the struggle.
And the struggle was at one, so that you can put somebody into their right frame of mind expectations. First of all, just internalizing the 1 kilometer, how long 1 kilometer is. I think that's the first thing. Somebody assumes 1 kilometer.
You pass out and
then you go and you're like,
hey, it's not finished.
300 meters.
But there's so many repeat participants, who started simple.
Yeah, it's just so simple.
Saying, achieving
even
that 5 kilometer, getting your medal,
it's a milestone.
Push you towards the next run. And you'll move from 5 kilometer to 10 kilometer to 21. Similar to what you're saying. I never used to run, by the way. I never used to run. I knew I could run, but it's painful. It can be very painful.
It was more of a punishment.
It can be very painful to run.
Let's go run.
So nowadays, 10 kilometers is an easy run. I can do 21.
Comfortably.
I can do 42. Because
you can.
At the end of 21, you feel like, what? Can I go 21 again? And that's what 42 kilometer guys do, So with the repeat participants, and we see them graduating from 10 kilometer to 21.
To 21.
Some of them go to 21, they're like, what? they go back to 10 because those are our biggest, numbers, 10 and 21, and the number keep on fluctuating. It goes up and down. And right now, if you look at even the number of ladies registering for 21 and 10 kilometers, for 10 kilometers is 50-50.
Wow.
Yeah, the number of ladies and men is 50-50. Even for 21 is going up. If you look at our statistics right now, so it's the starting is the most important.
Like we said, the biggest barrier is up here. 8:30. Let's take a break as we prepare and feel like athletes this morning. We're preparing for the Standard Charter Nairobi Marathon taking place at the end of this month. Of course, we've been told by David it's the physical race on the 30th taking place in Nairobi, a virtual race from the 23rd to the 30th taking place wherever you are, and then you log in your times onto the apps. There'll be satellite races as well in Kisumu, Mombasa and Kakamega, and he's already told us where that is taking place. Register today, because registration closes in 5 days' time, the 16th of October. Register today, nairobimarathon.com. Choose the race that you want to go for. As Albert Otieno is telling us, be pragmatic, okay? But always start by beginning. Start at the beginning. A new face of tech has entered the room, and this new face of tech is who, Ndu?
New face of tech is The Room, and they're basically saying that you can have access to highly skilled, vetted, hand-picked employees just for you. You don't have to go through the whole process of, okay, so we're going to shortlist people. Where do we start from? How do we go? They've said, look, step into the room, tell us what you want, and we can say, look, in this area, we already have 5. We have 5 in this area, tech. And all you need to do is choose. The whole hassle of shortlisting, of seeing 1,000 people who've applied for 40 jobs kind of thing, you can get that out because The Room provides those for you.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, we're looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16, highs of 27, and it's sunny at 15 in Nakuru, highs of 25. 25 will also be the high and mostly cloudy. Nyeri at 15, and it's 16 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 24. Light rain in parts of Mombasa at 25, highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 29 as well in partly sprinkly Malindi. 23 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 28, and 28 will also be the high and mostly cloudy. Kakamega at 24. It's 21 and mostly sunny in Kampala, highs of 28, and 30 will be the high and mostly sunny Dar es Salaam at 25. It's 16 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 28, and it's now raining in Lagos, 24 degrees, highs of 30. And we'll see highs of 33 in a sunny Kinshasa. It'll come down to lows of 22. Let's look at all the traffic that's feeding onto Mombasa Road this morning. Coming off Likoni Road onto the interchange, it's going to spill over to the southern bypass, and we have some traffic then. Folks are diverting and then going towards Mombasa Road, trying to head back in the other direction into the city. Still pretty heavy, parts of Jogo Road, but not as before. And Landis Road is starting to even out as you get towards Kamkunji. Whatever's going on the Thika Superhighway is still going on because it's bumper to bumper dead traffic as you get towards anywhere. Because all the way from the county of all the way from Kiambu County, coming in through Thika Road, really heavy. Kiambu Road as well is a nightmare, and folks need to wake up from that to be able to get where they're going. Limuru Road fed in from Kitisuru, coming in from Ruaka, everywhere. Ends up on Limuru Road and then trying to get towards the CBD. So it's going to be running for some time. Coming off Gong Road, Gitanga still doing that thing. Traffic is heavy this Tuesday morning. Keep safe, folks. Let's see what happens in about half an hour, right? Talk to us, SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, 23 to 9. The conversation continues.
Mornings
Prepare for
done
the
right.
Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon at the end of this month. David Lawrence, Head of Communications at Standard Chartered, is here, and Albert Otieno, who is a fitness enthusiast and founder of Zoezi Maisha running group, is here with us. You have 164 members. Back to that question that Ndu asked. So as you're preparing for this marathon, you told us the first thing is register.
Just register.
And then start walking.
Be bold enough and register.
Be bold enough. Just put your name out there. Start preparing. Now, there are things that you need. Oh, what kind of shoes should I have? What kind of socks? What kind of, top and bottom should I be having? All these things. How do I carry my water? Do I need to have lemon and cucumbers in the water bottle? How would you advise people who are starting?
Of course, shoe plays a very important role because you use your shoe more than any other outfit when you are doing your walks. So when you have a comfortable shoe, of course, I've seen a number of guys using ngoma, those how do you call them? Yeah. But we have
bangomas.
The ngomas, yeah. Those are not good shoes for walking or jogging. Because when you have a good shoe, but there are also other factors that are considered. The people who have flat foot, the people who have the normal feet. So you know yourself, the kind of feet you have.
How does one know whether they have a flat foot or not?
Of course, the frame or the structure is there. They know themselves that. For instance, even in the army recruitment, they always check on those flat-footed guys.
Yeah, the army guys know how to check for a flat foot. But how do you check your own flat foot? How do you know?
The arch, remember the arch down there, where the heel and where it connects the upper part of the foot. Of course, if it is flat, that's a flat-footed character. And even getting their shoes is never easy because the nature of their feet actually requires a lot of other factors to be considered when you're buying shoes. So once you get a good shoe, that is a step forward. Of course, you don't go in the jeans. Okay, you need a nice track for those who are not able to. Who are not comfortable running in their tights. Of course, there are some guys who don't like their tights. You can use tracks. Tracks are quite comfortable.
What material?
They call it the dry fit. The one you sweat in and they dry immediately. They're very, very comfortable, and they also avoid the chafing because chafing is also a very discomfortable part of running. Because when you have those wrong garments for as your pants, you find yourself having chafing after the run, and that comes out in handy when you're going for a shower. You really have to.
That's when you realize what you've been doing.
Exactly, yeah. So when it comes to upper body, you can have a nice T-shirt. Of course, Standard Chartered Bank, they have some of the best T-shirts around. But if you have your own garment like mine, you can always use this other one. And apart from that, you can also invest in a proper watch. A watch is a very important part of exercise because you need to time yourself, see whether you are improving. Some watches are very advanced. They even give you the heart rate If you are actually pushing so much, it will warn you that please slow down a bit. Otherwise, you can easily find yourself on the ground. So a proper preparation involves so many things. Proper sleeping, you must also sleep very well, because a day before the run can be very tricky. Some people get a bit of anxiety because tomorrow is that day that you are going to showcase your all that
prowess.
Exactly, yeah. And of course, the adrenaline goes up because this is a run that has so many people, and people behave differently. You just need to be calm enough, do your run, listen to your body. I always insist on listen to your body. Don't run my race. Don't go with my pace, because the way I train is different from the way you train. So as you prepare for your first race, I'm talking about the guys who are doing this for the first time, it's important to check on the right outfit. I'll talk about the shoes, the tops and the tracks for that matter. If you don't have a watch, you can as well upload so many running apps from your phone to just guide you. Of course, at the end of the day, it's about you achieving a certain goal. And the biggest goal in this case is finishing. Finishing comfortably and help. There are people who collapse because they stretch so much because they were running the races that were not theirs. So it's just a matter of, it's not about competing. You are competing against yourself. If you did, let's say, 21 last year in 3 hours, if this year you've trained very well, even if you do it in 2 hours, 59 minutes, that's an
improvement.
A very big one. As I said earlier, remember Kipchoge trained for a whole year to make a difference of a second. And that was a world record. So it's about you competing against yourself. There's other things like even what you eat before the race. The breakfast. Yeah. Because you need energy.
Yeah,
you need enough energy, the fueling, and of course, hydration is very important. The organizers of the races, they put water points after almost 5 kilometers.
5 kilometers.
Yeah, so that should not be a worry. So it's about the mindset.
So what should you have that morning?
That morning, it also depends on how you've been training. Like someone like me, I do coffee in the morning. The people, when they do coffee, they can't even do a proper run. So it's about how you've trained your body, how you tuned yourself.
Okay.
Me, I do coffee in the morning. Oh, okay, mine is very simple. In the morning, I wake up, I have a cold shower, very cold shower. It has been my routine since then, and it has worked well for me. Some people, cold shower is a punishment. Even showering in the morning before a run is just
it's too much.
It's just too much for them. So just use your routine. After all, you're not going for any competition. You're just going to compete against yourself. You're not going for Olympics. We are just recreational runners. The other factors, leave it to the elites. Elites, they know what they go for, and they're surprised for that. You've seen I remember last year but one. If you look at the difference between elite and recreational runners like us, these guys, they really check on their timings. When the race is ongoing and they foresee that they can't meet the time that was set, they just drop everything. They will be picked by lorries along the way. Unlike the recreational runners, they would even take 6 hours as long as they finish their runs. That's how it is. That's one of the main distinctive features between a recreational runner and those elite runners. So the most important thing, prepare yourself. 6 months too, you can be doing what we call hill reps, just build your endurance. You can do the speed work, you can do tempo, you can do strength training, because once you do a lot of runs without strength training, you are actually prone to injuries, and nobody wants to have injury at this particular time.
No.
Towards the race, like now, you now scale down what we call tapering. People now start doing short runs, have enough rest, so that on the race day you have all that energy that you need to push you forward to the finishing line.
So the good thing about what he's talking about, we've partnered with trainers. And this is accessible to especially corporate organizations who register to run. And we have a pool of 3 or 4 coaches, who are actually able to structure a training program for your organization and for your members. Be it just Latif and his team of friends, you can get an access to a coach who can actually guide your team in terms of preparation. And even if you go to our website, Nairobi Marathon, that inclusive training program is for anybody. It doesn't you don't have to have a disability to use it. It's a very well structured training to prepare you towards any race, be it 10, 5, 21, or even 42 kilometers, because it has those, repeats, speed work, building endurance. It has stretches, instruction on stretching. It has warm-ups. It has strength training where you go into the gym and work on your quads and your legs, so that you're able to carry your body through 21 kilometer. And what he's talking about, even in terms of gear and all that, we have different partners within our running community. Guys like Run Beyond, they'll advise you on the right shoe to wear. They'll advise you on the right outfit. It has to be dry fit. And when we talked about the standard that we offer in terms of the t-shirt, is actually dry fit. Okay. And that's actually one of the best running tops that you can have. So it's to just encourage guys to, first of all, register. If you have a challenge on how to prepare, just reach out to us. We'll be able to guide you to the right person to talk to help you prepare for the run.
David, remind us why we are running. Why are we running this year? And
why are you running?
Yeah, literally, why are you running?
Yes. I mean, it's so interesting. And I was listening to your show earlier about the Day of the Girl Child. And one of the reasons why we are running is actually to support that population. So we call it Future Makers by Standard Chartered. I know for a long time people know reason, seeing is believing.
Yes.
Which was, pretty simple. It's corrective eye, intervention. But Future Makers go beyond that. So we are talking about empowering persons with disability, empowering disadvantaged members of the society, especially youths and women. And we've rolled out a number of programs to support this group of people. One of them is actually Goal, and Goal actually looks at adolescents, young ladies, and it uses sports. So it's football fused with skills or soft skills training, entrepreneurship training. There's a bit of revolving fund supporting these ladies, and there's a lady who's opened a nice salon out of that program. And she started when she was still in primary school, and she grew through the ranks, and now she's a business owner. So every fund that we raise from the marathon goes towards Future Makers, and Future Makers looks at employability. And you're talking about the room. I mean, how do we prepare young professionals or students ready for the job market? And we're tapping into our resources as a bank in terms of professionals within the bank. And interesting, this year we are seeing even corporates reaching out. How can we, plug into Future Makers? They might be sponsors, or they might just be a corporate participant. And they're saying, how can we, be part of it to help train, university students to be ready for the job market? And it is tapping into top talents, within the country, even within our bank. And they're having sessions with, we've partnered with like 7 universities to help them prepare for the job market. It might be as simple as writing your CV that will, get you into the interviewing room. And how do you even prepare for the interview? How do you package yourself in front of a panel? There's a soft skills that sometimes blocks people from getting that next job. Yeah. So we are working with the universities to plug that gap. Other programs is entrepreneurship, and it's targeting women. We call it Women in Tech, and we're doing it with Strathmore, the iLab business, IB, for the last 4 years. And the stories that come out of these programs, applications. So it's targeting startups who are leveraging technology to advance their businesses. Yeah. So you go through a 12-week program, intense business 101 from business proposal to cash management flows to tax to anything that will equip you to run your business. And then at the end of it, you get a seed funding of $1 million, Bob. And it has opened doors for so many young ladies who are running very innovative businesses, or just a simple restaurant, but you're using technology to advance your business, and we've seen good stories coming out of it. Some of them are giving insurance solutions using technology, and they've attracted additional financing from venture capitalists. So I think is the impact that 2,000 shillings that you give towards the marathon, the impact is going to have on. It might not be the biggest number, but it's a select number of guys who can have the biggest impact. And even the selection that we go through in terms of women in tech, it's so rigorous and it's so independent because, we tap into the expertise within the entrepreneurship space, and we tap into Strathmore as a business school, and they help us run these programs. We are a bank. Sometimes, we can't do everything.
Yeah.
So we partner with people to implement some of these programs.
Yeah. I mean, so that, did you ever think, I think it's what you call a double whammy. Did you ever think that now here you are impact, because you talk about seeing is believing before, and then now with future makers, whereby indeed the future of a lot of people essentially will be made because there are people coming together to run.
Yeah.
But then here you are, and you have a whole movement then that has been created of people who are actively seeking a fitter, healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, running in this marathon, which is impacting lives for the future. Was it in the mind, of the institution to say, okay, well, let's see if we can do this. But then here you are, and then there's impact on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, it's so the impact on the community side, that's always been our aspiration.
Mm-hmm.
I think another aspiration is to support budding athletes within the country. And this is looking at elite athletes who use the marathon as a springboard towards, launching their running careers. We look at, promoting Nairobi City as a tourist destination. We're talking about the other day we were doing our recce's. There's so many giraffes along the route. I'm just hoping they'll be there on the 30th.
So many buffaloes around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Buffaloes,
it's a run next to the national park. They only see to the national park inside it. So it's trying to promote the tourism attraction that Nairobi has. And Magical Kenya has actually come on board as a partner. And I think in the coming years they'll be working to come up with travel packages. For our running community. If you come participate in the marathon, you'll get a package to, go to, your next destination. So that was the aspiration. But the response in terms of guys taking up an active lifestyle is something that even as we didn't anticipate. And we didn't see guys connecting their own personal reasons for running and our reason as a bank for organizing the marathon. But it's working so well because as I do my own, pursue my own ambitions and reason for running, I'm also supporting future makers, which is why we organize the marathon.
Off the script here a little bit, David.
Yes.
All right. So you've seen that this is what's happening. There are people who are interested in, taking up their personal health as an issue and their lifestyles and all. And they participate in this race. They join running groups such as Albert's. But then there are not many running spaces around Nairobi or around the country. If you look at what the government has put in place, so how much effort, for example, has the county government of Nairobi put in ensuring that we have running spaces around? And a big organization such as you are, a corporate bank with a international brand, the governor of Nairobi would listen to Standard Chartered Bank.
Yes.
The governor of Nairobi would listen to Standard Chartered and see there's a huge population in a part of this city, very huge population, that don't have running tracks, any path where they can run. What can you do about that? I said, it's off the script.
Off the script. How many patter? But I'll try, remain as neutral as possible. But I think what we've started doing, and we realized this, I think last year, and we partnered with Arboretum to help renovate, the running paths there. And this is a partnership that we say Arboretum is the pilot. And what we're doing with Nairobi Arboretum, apart from creating the running paths and working with them to renovate. I don't know the last time you went to the Arboretum. The paths are, a bit, worn out per se. So we are working with Arboretum to help renovate that space. Number 2 is also try and do some education around running green spaces. And Strathmore, actually, we've partnered with Strathmore to develop an app that if you go to Nairobi Arboretum, you're able to have, some environmental awareness or sensitivity around it. We've also established like a 1 million seedling nursery there to, and this could be house plants, it could be fruit plants that actually is targeting the urban area. The bigger mission is to help establish similar running spaces across the different cities. Because as I mentioned, there's an active running population that is coming out in Kisumu. If you go to Coast, when you're going, I always do a run. And I go to Coast, I'll do like a run. And you'll see.
There are people.
There are people. And how can, private sector partner with governments to support?
Yeah.
Indeed.
And there's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of
course.
work to be done.
And this is a message now from the Situation Room.
Yes.
To Johnson Arthur Sakaja, Your Excellency, Governor. It's been a while. It's ahem. There's a lot of work to be done in terms of making sure that people like Albert and Eric and Ndu have spaces where they can walk out and they can run. And there are very many such people, Albert. I'm sure when people are coming and you're joining, you only have a limited areas where you think about organizing races. And yet Nairobi is so huge.
Yeah, sure.
And it requires more and more of such open spaces and green spaces where people can run, where people can go for recreation. Message home to the governor. Your final message, Albert, to people who are thinking, I want to start running. They set the alarm. And then the alarm goes off. Lakini nasikia kama kunanyesha.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. I think all of us can run. That's a fact. All of us do walk. And for somebody who really wants to venture into fitness and running in particular, just get out. There's a say I always like using during my morning posts about human beings are not like salt or sugar. Whereby when you are rained on, you are going to either dissolve. In fact, I enjoy it most when I run during in the rain because the temperatures are cool, the hearts are calm, and you perform very, very well. I know it's a bit of a challenge because of our road networks. There are no spaces, but I think we use what we have at the moment. And my final message is just get out. A kilometer counts.
A kilometer counts.
Yeah.
Very good message. David Lawrence is the head of communication and associate principal in marketing at Standard Chartered Kenya. And Albert Otieno is the founder of Zoezi Maisha, a running group. We're all participating at the end of this month in the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. That's what we've been talking about.
Yes.
Make sure that you do that. In the next hour, we also tell you how to participate in a journey to winning an acre of land free from AMG Realtors. An acre of land in Nanyuki. We'll tell you about that in the next hour. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
That's Little Miss Gang featuring Nicki Minaj. We're at the top of the hour. It's 9 a.m.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The National Assembly has a packed schedule as it resumes its sittings today. The August House has until November 3rd to sift through President William Ruto's nominees to cabinet. As such, the National Assembly has to constitute the important committee on appointment that will begin the work of vetting cabinet nominees. Chaired by the Speaker of the National Assembly, the committee constitutes the Deputy Speaker, the majority and minority leaders with their deputies, and 8 other members to be nominated by the majority and minority sides, as both sides will be nominating 4 members each. The committee has 28 days from the first sitting within which they are to audit President Ruto's nominees to the cabinet and table a report in the House. The House plenary has to debate the report within 7 days, as the parliamentary timelines dictate that the National Assembly has until November 3rd to conduct the vetting exercise of Cabinet Secretary nominees. Now, a Kenyan voter has proposed changes to the constitution, key among them seeking to reward the runner-up in a presidential election with a slot in the National Assembly. The voter, identified as Nyongesa Mahanu, also wants the running mate to be given a Senate seat after losing. Mahanu, who is an architect by profession, has subsequently petitioned the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission seeking authority to collect a million signatures for the process to amend the constitution. According to Mahanu, the 2010 constitution presents a major setback, hence denying Kenyans the opportunity to have an effective parliamentary oversight of the executive. He has further proposed that a president needs to be from a third community other than that of the retiring or the predecessor. This limitation, he said, once enacted, will not apply to the sitting president and his deputy. In addition, Mahan wants the general election held on the 3rd Tuesday of December after every 5 years. He argues that holding elections on the 2nd Tuesday of August affects national economic activities negatively. Now, 11.5 million Kenyans are suffering from mental illness and lack the required mental health services. WHO, while marking the International Mental Health Day, has asked Kenyan government and various stakeholders to come up with strategies to strengthen mental health services. WHO says Kenya currently only has 100 psychiatrists, which means one specialist serves 500,000 people, this being 100 times less than the organization's recommendations. A WHO report shows that in Africa, 11 people per 100,000 die annually by suicide, with men being the most affected as they don't like speaking about when stressed. As Kenya celebrates the Girl today, a report by the international human rights organization Equality Now indicates that Kenya is a hotspot for the commercial sexual exploitation of children in East Africa. This year's theme for the International Day of the Girl Child is Our Time is Now, Our Rights, Our Future. The focus is on the multitude of challenges put in front of girls' paths to reach their potential. This has been made worse by the ongoing crisis of climate change, COVID-19 and humanitarian conflict around the globe. Girls struggle with issues related to their education, their physical and mental wellness, and leading a life without violence. According to the report, sexual abuse of minors is perceived to be influenced by multiple factors, worsened by negative social norms and cultural practices, poverty, and social media platforms that circulate sexualized images. Children comprise half of the survivors seeking post-rape care. The postmortem of the late Ainab Koi Member of Parliament William Chepkorir is set to take place today. The former Ainab Koi MP passed on Saturday at his home after being unwell for some time. The late Chepkorir, who lost his seat in August elections, will be laid to rest next week, October 18th, at his Kapsunde home in Uasin Gishu County. Funeral arrangements are in top gear as leaders and residents continue to throng the deceased home to condole with the family. The politician was in and out of hospital since 2021. In June last year, he fainted at a city hotel and was hospitalized for close to 2 months and would later undergo a 36-hour surgery after fracturing his hand. And a gangster escaped with gunshot wounds after a fierce exchange of fire with Criminal Investigation Department officers in Kisumu. Police officers recovered a pistol the suspect was said to have dropped as he fled from the detectives. Kisumu County Commissioner Josephine Ouko asked members of the public to watch out for anyone nursing gunshot wounds and report the same to facilitate the arrest. Ouko said DCI officers revealed that the suspect escaped with the second pistol, hence he is still armed and dangerous. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
94.4 Spice
Traffic in most parts of this morning, we're looking at it heavy coming off Jogoo Road. It's going to go into the city. Still heavy coming off Kamkunji and into the CBD today. Whatever is going on the Thika Superhighway is still doing the rounds. Heavy traffic coming past that Outer Ring Junction. And we're also looking at Kiambu Road heavy as well. Limuru Road, we're looking at in and outbound traffic that has not let up since 7 o'clock. So that still continues. James Gishiro also pretty busy as you're getting onto Wayaki Way and into the city. Let's keep an eye on things. A few minutes after 9 o'clock, likely to continue for some time. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE and let's keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
It's 7 after 9.
This is the Situation Room.
Final hour.
The only
biggest conversation today, Tuesday, the 11th day of October 2022, the International Day of the Girl Child, and also one of the days when you have a chance to win an acre of land in Nanyuki, courtesy of AMG Realtors. All you need to do is, first of all, send the word Shamba to 40299, and then you will receive information about the various places that AMG Realtors has pieces of land that they're selling. You can buy whatever size of land that you want to buy, from as little as 150,000 shillings to 4.7 million shillings. Every 50,000 shillings that you pay earns you a ticket to the draw, a draw regulated by the Betting Control and Licensing Board. This draw is where you stand a chance of winning either an acre of land or 5 acres of land. AMG Realtors has been in operation for 10 years and they are giving away 10 acres of land, 1 acre each to 5 people and 5 acres to 1 person. They've already given away 1 acre. There's 4 parcels of 1 acre each and the main 5 acre prize. Simple as that.
There you go.
We are going to talk about Kakamega County. Remember, the Standard Chapter Marathon is taking place in Kakamega County on the 28th of October. The governor of Kakamega County is in the studio with us, deputy governor, co-governor. He'll tell us which is which. But I have the proverb from Ivory Coast. It's better a bad wife than an empty house. It's better a bad wife than an empty house. Your Excellency Ayub Savula. Good morning.
Morning, Eric Latif.
Hey, good to have you, and congratulations. Now we are not calling you just Mheshimiwa, it's Your Excellency.
Your Excellency.
Umazoea hiyo?
I'm used to honorable.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Congratulations, first of all, on your ascension to the office of Deputy Governor of Kakamega County. A lot of work, of course, has gone into that, right?
It's true.
A lot of work has gone into it. When you hear this proverb, just as we begin, it's from Ivory Coast. They say it's better a bad wife than an empty house. What do you make of it? Do you agree?
Better a bad wife than an
empty house.
Nah, I better stay alone. A bad wife. Yeah.
You better be.
You know, when you're in a relation, you have to enjoy life. If you have a bad wife, how will you enjoy life?
You don't have peace of mind.
You don't have a peace of mind. Yeah. It's better you stay alone than having a wife who will give you troubles. Yeah.
Okay.
You want a smooth relation, a peace of mind. Yeah.
You want comfort.
You want comfort.
A home who should be your refuge.
Yeah.
Right.
Why should you have?
Thank you. It's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Why should you have a lioness living in your bedroom?
I plead the fifth.
Why should you have a lioness living? Okay.
And why not? Okay.
Mheshimiwa Savula, what is your title? Are you deputy governor or co-governor?
My title is specified in the constitution. I'm the deputy governor.
All right.
But since I was running for governorship position, then I was withdrawn from the rest through consultation. We signed some agreement. We signed an agreement between DAP and ODM, cooperation agreement, where governor will be Fernandez Baraza
from ODM.
And I'll be his deputy, and we'll share the government in 50-50. The agreement is there. It's signed. The agreement was deposited with the Register political party. The Register political party wrote back to DAP admitting the agreement. And so far, I've not seen any issue with Baraza.
So
we are working very well. We are forming a joint government, a government that will work for the people of Kakamega to deliver.
Okay.
Baraza is a smooth operator.
What does it mean, a joint government?
How does this work out exactly?
You see, I have my supporters who came from DAP.
Yes.
I was going for the seat. Baraza was going for the seat.
Yes.
So we merged together under Azimio to form one united
front.
Ticket to win the seat. Now we have won the seat. I have to please my supporters. Baraza has to please his supporters. We form a government for the sake of interest. The interests are from Baraza's camp and my camp.
Okay.
When we'll form one government.
So what does that mean? In decision making, in executive orders, things like this, these will be things that you will do together. It's not going to be a matter of the governor Baraza has said this, and maybe in the absence of Baraza, then DG Savula will take over. Or are we saying that there is joint decision making, there is joint execution of office, there is joint everything, whereas deputy governors have often complained in the past that they have no portfolio?
A government is one. There are no two governments according to the constitution. The government is one. But the political parties amendment act that we passed in parliament just before the election allowed for the formation of coalitions. And the formation of coalition allow sharing of power. Just the way Ruto has done. He has shared the government with his partners like Ford Kenya, where Wetangula has benefited position of Speaker of National Assembly, and he has also been allocated the docket of Health CS. Musalia has been given non-existent position in the Constitution, Prime Minister, Super Prime Minister, is also in the Constitution. But Ruto actually has delivered
on the promises
he made. I have no problem with Baraza. In fact, recently we had a meeting and we agreed on two candidates for the position of CC members. And we are working.
You're working smoothly.
Smoothly.
You know why we keep asking this is...
it's not like the Kericho issue.
What is the Kericho issue?
I don't know why the governor and the deputy are fighting.
Already?
You were elected for 5 years to deliver on the election pledges. We merged our pledges. Baraza had his own manifesto. I had my own manifesto. But now we merged together. For the sake of the people of Kakamega, I will not engage in any war with my governor. I will respect him. We work together. We deliver. Because we are remaining with 4 years, 9 months to the election. In the next 2 years, if we will not have delivered, then the perception will be different. These people don't deserve these seats.
They don't deserve
so
the election.
if you want to engage your governor in the battles over these small things,
but what if the governor does those small things? Let me give you the example. Where we're coming from is this, all right? In 2008, Kofi Annan, we see the steps of Harambee House, the National Peace and Reconciliation Accord, amendment of the Constitution, a position of Prime Minister is created. But the National Reconciliation Act says that there shall be sharing of power. The decisions of the executive will be made in consultation and concurrence between the President and the Prime Minister. If there's no consultation or concurrence, then that decision does not hold. And we saw various issues where, Kibaki would appoint an Attorney General and Raila would say, I was not consulted, and so that doesn't fly. Is it the similar kind of thing that you're saying, that all decisions of the county executive of Kakamega will be made in consultation and concurrence between the governor and the deputy governor?
I have told you clearly, I have not seen anywhere where Baraza does not consult. when actually made changes, dropping some cabinet, some members of the cabinet, he did call me before he made the changes. And specifically, we discussed on one CEC who actually undermined our campaigns. And we said we can't work with him. He went ahead to make changes, the initial changes, the first changes at the cabinet level, and some senior officers, including the chief officers, and actually called me and gave me the reasons why each and every individual was being removed or transferred to another position. The reasons. So the consultation at a very high level.
Very good.
We are working smoothly with Baraza, and we are sure of delivering.
So far there's good.
So far, we are not the Kericho type. Yeah.
So far there's good.
We are not.
You're not like very many other deputy governors who don't even feel like they're involved. We were having a conversation here with the chair of the Deputy Governors Forum, who is the deputy governor of Kajiado County.
Yes.
And he was carrying on from what the former chairperson of the Deputy Governors Forum was doing, which is championing that deputy governors should have a distinct portfolio. You're not just a floating deputy governor, but you're a deputy governor with some role in the county government. Do you support that? And what kind of role then should deputy governors get?
You see, you have to amend the constitution to give deputy governors power. But the way things stand, deputy governor remains principal assistant to the governor, unless assigned other roles. But what I would suggest for the deputy governors, the little time I've been in office, the relation between me and the governor is cordial. But the relation between the governor and some governors and some deputies is not cordial. So and this leaves the deputy governors very idle. And an idle mind has an evil thinking aspect. So what needs to be done? The deputy governors should look for ways where they can be appointed as CEC members so that to keep them busy. An idle mind is evil. So you'll start fitina here and there and start undermining your governor. But if you are busy, you'll concentrate on your docket. So deputy governor should look for ways that they can be appointed as a CEC, so that they can concentrate on their docket.
Are you going to be appointed as a CEC? Or would you think that would be also good for you to have?
I can't say yes or no. It depends. It depends on availability of time on my side.
Okay.
Yeah. Besides being a deputy governor, I'm also a businessman. Yeah. So I look for.
So if you have time, then you could take up the position of CEC. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying if your business takes your time and you're too busy,
then
you
the position of DG can
else.
sit to the side.
No. I'm saying already I'm a businessman and I'm a DG. If I can get professional managers to manage my business, then I can allow myself to have a docket.
Which takes priority? The county work, which you ask Kenyans essentially to give you in terms of that position, or your business?
My friend, my priority is business. What feeds me is business. Politics is just a hobby.
So then why get involved in it?
It's a hobby because I want to serve the people.
As a hobby?
And a hobby. When I was a member of parliament in Lugari, I used to spend the entire salary on funerals alone. The budget salary of an MP when I was in parliament was 660. I used to send every funeral an average of 11,000. 1,000 the representative sending who I'm sending to represent me in that funeral. Then 10,000 a donation to the bereaved family. So if you do calculate 110,000 times average 15 funerals times 4. It is 660. My entire salary. The service to the people. I didn't join politics to enrich myself. I was very rich when I was not a politician. I was the biggest distributor of sugar in this country.
So did you represent them in parliament?
I represented them in parliament effectively. And in fact, I'm the first MP since Lugari constituency was created, since 1964, to be elected for a second term concurrently. I broke those jinx in 2017. 2017. And I got the highest number of votes. I was the leading one in Western because of what I had done in Lugari constituency.
Because people connected with the work.
People connected with the work I had done.
Yeah.
I can give you an example. I built the 3rd National Diploma Teachers Training College in Kenya in Lugari. The first National Diploma Teachers Training College is Kagumo. Kagumo was built by the founding father of this country, President Jomo Kenyatta. The second college is Kibabi National Diploma Teachers Training College that was built by President, the late President Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. The last similar institution in Kenya is Lugari National Diploma Teachers Training College, which I built as an MP. I was not a president.
Okay.
But all other similar institutions like those ones were built by the president. In 5 years, when I was the first time MP, I had established 3 institutions in Lugari. I built also Lugari KMTC, Kenya Medical Training College. Those institutions in Kakamega County are only 2 that were operating from 2014. One was Kakamega KMTC in Kakamega Town that was built by Jomo Kenyatta. The last one was Lugari that I built. I also built the second National Polytechnic in Kakamega County. The first one is Sigalagala and the last one is Maturu National Polytechnic in Lugari. Based on that development, they gave me 48,000 votes. Now number 2 got 6,000 votes in 2017.
So when you say you built, are you saying of your own, thinking, of your own intuition, of support that came from you? Or are we talking about legislative lobbying then that those funds
not
come
legislative,
out for these institutions to then be built?
Not legislative voting. You plan your CDF. And you remember between 2013 and 2015, MPs, members of parliament, were in charge of CDF before the activists went to court to challenge the CDF Act. And actually they won the case that has gone up to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court they have won based on the 2013 CDF Act. But it was amended in 2015 to create National Government Constituency Development Fund.
Yes.
But before, when it was CDF, MPs, members of parliament, were in charge. Now members of parliament are not in charge of CDF because they do the oversight. They don't even sit in the CDF board. They don't CDF in the CDF constituency committees. But I was the patron and I was the leader of CDF. So I used to budget.
Influence.
I had influence. I budgeted for the Diploma Teachers Training College. We started by carving a piece of land from Makanda Township Primary, Makanda DB Primary. Then I allocated 10 million for the construction of the college the first year. Second year, 10 million. Then I used to allocate 10 million every ward.
Would you have been able to do these things without the CDF?
No. It's not possible.
Right.
It's not possible.
So the county the mechanisms under the county infrastructure then allowed for these things to happen. So one could argue that
it's not a mechanism.
In the position,
it was my idea.
Anybody in the position could have done the same thing with just a
Why is it that in the neighboring Tarbo constituency, where the president comes from, there are no similar colleges like those one, development to that level? Likuyani constituency, where there was an MP, they don't have a KMTC.
There's a leadership.
Yeah, there's a leadership
thing.
Where is Malava is a neighboring, there is no KMTC, there is no National Diploma Teachers Training College, there is no National Polytechnic. The other constituency, Kimilili, bordering me, those institutions are not there. It's the leadership style.
Okay.
You empower your people.
Right.
Yeah.
And those, in terms of what you've been able to set up, those are running today.
They are running today.
Okay. What have you told the people of Kakamega that under your leadership as the deputy governor and Baraza as the governor, what have you told the people of Kakamega will happen? Promises. We heard them flying about during the campaign period. What had you said to the people of Kakamega that under this governorship, this would happen? Expect this.
There are several issues that we had promised the people of Kakamega, but our priority is Mumias Sugar Company. We must do everything possible, everything within our means to make Mumias up and running. If we make Mumias a solid idea, investment idea, up and running, we'll solve first thing the unemployment. We'll reduce rural-urban migration. where people come from Kakamega to come and seek for jobs here in Kawangware industrial area. They end up being killed instead of reviving Mumias Sugar Company so that we give our people opportunity to work from home. Mumias, you work from your house, you go to Mumias Sugar Company, you go back to your house. We improve the economy of Kakamega County. Because the only thriving economic activity of Kakamega County is Masinde Muliro University. That is what is sustaining the economy of Kakamega County. While Mumias is dead. But if we make sure that Mumias is up and running, we'll be stable in Kakamega County economically and create jobs for our youth. Then secondly, Mumias Sugar will also pay the county government cess. You remember the law allows the county government to collect cess money from factories,
industries within the county,
industries within the county, and it will help us improve the road network. We want to tarmac roads within that county. So if we make Mumias a thriving industry, it'll actually improve the economy of Kakamega County.
Can I hold on to that for just a minute?
Yes.
So if this is, this is the altar upon which you're saying this is one thing that we said we're going to deliver. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people basically being, engaged in some kind of economic activity. What went wrong with Mumias? And then what do you think that you're going to then be able to fix to make this happen? What was the problem?
I've always said, even if you bring an angel Mumias Sugar Company, without changing the attitude of the farmer, you will not succeed. Because of DR, you supply cane, then you find that you are being owed by the factory. You supply cane, you don't get payment on time. Farmers are not being paid. They went even for 18 months without being paid. So the farmers stopped planting the cane. Mumias Sugar Company is about raw material supply. If we manage to change the attitude of farmers, we support them with farm input. We supply them with free fertilizer. We do for them the tilling. We supply them the seed cane. Then let them produce cane and supply to Mumias Sugar Company. We'll have solved the problem of Mumias Sugar Company. Problem Mumias Sugar Company is not about management. It's about the farmer. We kill the farmer. We revive the outgrower associations like Mumias Sugar Outgrowers Association. The farmer's body that helps them make decision on cane production. Will be solving the problem of Mumias Sugar Company. And also we need to amend the law on the licensing of factories because there are so many mushrooming sugar factories. We have West Kenya in Malava. We have Butali Sugar Company within Malava also. There is another factory at Tangakona towards Busia. All these are getting their cane from a small area. So if you amend the Sugar Act, now it's AFA, but we have created a Sugar Act. I don't know if the president signed before he retired, but we had passed it in Parliament. We create zoning. The people living around 50 kilometers radius within West Kenya should be allowed to supply their crop to West Kenya Sugar Company. Those living 50 kilometers radius around Butali Sugar Company should be allowed to supply their cane to Butali Sugar Company. That is the contracted cane. Then those living around Mumias, 50 kilometers radius around Mumias should be allowed now to supply it to Mumias Sugar Company without West Kenya poaching in Mumias Sugar Company zone, without Butali poaching in Butali Sugar Company zone. That is for contracted farmers. But farmers who don't have contract with those millers, those are called private farmers. The ones who plant cane without signing any contract with any miller, you allowed to
sell whatever they want
to any factory of your choice.
So you allow for free market
for
them.
But the contracted farmers, we must make sure that we cover them around that 50 kilometers radius so that we allow adequate raw material supply to those factories.
I'd like to actually get to understand what has been done to Mumias, because since the Kibaki years, Mumias has been a campaign issue. Money has been dedicated for the revival of Mumias, from Kibaki to Uhuru. Now you're talking about all this. The latest one was the issue of privatization and getting a private bidder to come and run Mumias Sugar. It appears as if Mumias, as it currently stands, is a cash cow for several people. I just want to ask you whether you think this is true, or you think I'm lying, or whether I'm just
Things.
dreaming my own stuff.
Eric, I'll agree with you 100%. There are cartels in the sugar industry who thrive on confusion to enrich themselves. When I was Agriculture Committee chairman, I was actually the first chairman of the Agriculture Committee, the National Assembly, under the new constitution. I led a delegation of MPs from Western to see President Uhuru, then President. We agreed on revival mechanism of Mumia Sugar Company. One was cash bailout for Mumia Sugar Company. And I remember Uhuru came himself from Mumia Sugar Company, and they gave 1.8 or 2 billion cash bailout to Mumia Sugar Company. But the cartels and the managers of Mumia Sugar Company at that time, instead of paying farmers to motivate them to go back to crop production, they paid suppliers, fictitious suppliers. So the money never reached the farm.
The farmer didn't get anything.
It was painful to the farmers. The president has brought money, they pay fictitious suppliers.
Who are these cartels? And, everybody talks about cartels. It's like there's some, you say fictitious. Are they ghosts? Do they exist? Do they come from the heavens? Who are they? And I think that people who practice within these circles know very well who these cartels are, but are reluctant to point a finger or to put a gap or to put a stop to these issues. And for me, until and unless they're able to address these issues face to face, we're going to be talking about these things for years to come.
Some of the cartels, we are dealing with them. Part of the cartels, we defeated them in the election, the recent election. And it was a major campaign issue during the election. Because part of those cartels are the ones who went to court to stop the new investor from running the company. And we said, no, we have to fight this cartel. Mumias has to run. Mumias is bigger than an individual in Kakamega County. Mumias is bigger than those cartels. And you've said our priority is to ensure that we fight these cartels, we remove them from the system of Mumia Sugar Company so that we can be allowed to have this company up and running. The then deputy president, the current president, actually alluded to the fact that when they form the government, they are going to give the Kakamega County the 24% shares held by the National Treasury in Mumia Sugar Company before it went under receivership. Now, once we remove Mumia Sugar Company from receivership, now we will write to the president seeking a meeting with him so that we can get the 24% shares that he promised.
So the county government of Kakamega
can be involved in the running of Mumia Sugar Company. And what we will focus on, the county government of Kakamega will appoint the chairman of Mumia Sugar Company. Yeah.
Let's take a break. It's 27 minutes to 10. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. His Excellency Ayub Savula, Baruja Zoya. His Excellency Ayub Savula is the Deputy Governor of Kakamega County. He's our guest this morning. We're talking about what it's going to take to revive and get Kakamega thriving. Reviving Mumia Sugar, he says, is one of the issues, and also looking at the role of the Deputy Governor of Kakamega County. Are you looking for qualified tech employees? And you're just wondering, okay, so everybody nowadays has some qualification or the other that is tech related. Either they've done an online course, or they've actually gone to a college, or they have some degree or a master's or all, and you're looking and you're just wondering how to get them. Okay, worry no more. Because theroom.com is a place you need to go to. The Room has qualified technical staff who've been vetted by the Room. They have checked their background. They've checked, yes, what you say that you have trained in is actually true. Also, they've checked their competencies and they've trained them to fine-tune their skill to what the industry requires. So if you go to the Room, theroom.com, you are able to find proper, qualified, vetted, and what else? Staff. All those things.
Yes.
Check. Vetted, yes. Qualified, yes. Upskilled, yes. Available, yes. Can you have a conversation with them? Yes. Choices, many.
Voila.
Yes. 25 to 10. We're back after this break.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, the sun has come out in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 14. It's 18 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 25. 25 will also be the high and mostly sunny in Nyeri at 17. And it's 17 and sunny in Eldoret, going to highs of 24. Sun is also peeking through those clouds. Some parts rainy in Mombasa, highs of 29 and lows of 22. Sunny conditions through Malindi at 27 with highs of 29. It's 25 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 29 and lows of 18. And Kakamega is sunny at 25, highs of 27 and lows of 14. Mostly sunny conditions at 23 in Kampala, and we're looking at light rain in Dar es Salaam at 27. It's 19 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 30 in Lagos. 33 will be the high in Kinshasa, where it's sunny at 24, and it's sunny at 20 in Beijing going into Tuesday evening. That'll be today's high. Sunny at 9 degrees in Paris, highs of 17, and 16 will be the high in a sunny London at 6. 14 and clear still Monday night in New York. Coming into Tuesday, highs of 21 and lows of 17. All right, so well past surveys where we're still seeing traffic, even after 9:30 on the Thika Superhighway. It still continues much better looking on Kiambu Road now, but Limuru Road is probably going to have some traffic for some time, as is Wayaki Way getting into the city this morning. You should be all right coming off Mombasa Road, but we're looking at Gong Road coming off Naivasha Road and then into Lavington, out towards James Gishuru. The dot of traffic still continues past into Kuna Road this morning. Keep an eye on things through the morning. Talk to us, SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right.
Mornings done right.
94 2,000 bob worth of airtime courtesy of Airtel. Remember, sending money Airtel to Airtel Money is free. You can also go anywhere across the country and till with Airtel Money. Whether you find a till number or a pay bill number, you can still pay into that pay bill or till number using your Airtel Money. Today we are asking, which Airtel Kenya mobile data offer do you enjoy using and how do you use it? Which Airtel Kenya mobile data offer do you enjoy using and how do you use it? Airtel is available on 4G across the country, better, faster, everywhere. Just respond to the question on our social media handles, SpiceFM KE on Twitter and Facebook. And at the end of the show, we are going to announce a winner. Somebody receives 2,000 bob worth of airtime. Ayub Savula, the Deputy Governor of Kakamega County, is still here with us, saying the big issue for his government as the Deputy Governor and Governor Fernandez Barasa is the revival of Mumias Sugar Company, and seeing that Mumias Sugar then is back online, because that provides employment opportunity, that provides revenue for the county government of Kakamega. And of course, it brings back the glory days to Kakamega County. Mumias has been under for a number of years, for many years. And like you've said, people of Kakamega who were beneficiaries and benefiting from Mumias as employees, as sugarcane outgrowers who are sending their cane there and getting paid and then being able to take their children to school, have suffered. There are people who have benefited from the status quo. You're one of the biggest, like you've said yourself, one of the biggest sugar traders in this country. Are you among those that have been benefiting from the woes at Mumias?
I was a distributor actually for sugar for Mumias Sugar Company. I was actually benefiting the farmers. I purchase the sugar from Mumias Sugar Company cash. I sell. I go and purchase cash. I sell. And in turn, the farmers used to get their money on time. But when the cartels interfered with the activities of Mumias Sugar Company, Mumias started facing problems. And I can tell you some of those cartels, actually, when Mumias Sugar Company gave farmers some loans to till their land, Mumias Sugar Company gave free seed cane. Mumias Sugar Company gave fertilizer on loan. That money was supposed to be deducted at the end once the supplies have been made to the factory. Once the farmer has delivered the cane to the factory. But the cartels within that zone, other millers, they took advantage of the problem that were at Mumia Sugar Company. They harvested cane that is contracted to Mumia Sugar Company. They paid the farmers cash. So Mumias was unable even to get the money they invested in the farmer.
Okay.
In the farmer. That's why you say when we do zoning for contracted cane, we'll save Mumia Sugar Company. We'll save also West Kenya. We'll also save Butali Sugar. Then we leave the private farmers, the farmers who have planted their own cane, who have used their own investment to supply cane to any factory of their choice.
And that's going to work.
And that is going to work. And a second issue, we also need to carry out a survey before we zone to see if we have enough land within that sugar belt. Because
for cane growing.
For cane growing. Because the families have subdivided the land into small acreages. The farm that was supposed to use to produce cane. So you have to look for elsewhere to get enough land to plant cane. We have to think outside the box. Currently, even West Kenya is getting their cane from Uganda.
So
benefiting a farmer in Uganda. And not in Kenya.
What is the solution to this? Because, I mean, like you said, it's because families are growing and there's how we hold land and how we view land. So you want to be given your small portion of land by your parents.
Yes.
And you subdivide, and further subdivision then is eating away from the arable land. So what's the solution?
We change on how we look at the family setup in terms of dishing out land to family members and look for ways we can introduce commercial farming. That we set aside huge chunk of land for for cane production and set aside a small chunk for family, maybe to develop the house or something like that. But we focus mainly
on commercial.
Allowing cane to be grown on commercial. We can even go as far as getting our cane from ADC land in Trans Nzoia. They have huge tracts of land where they're planting maize and maize production and some other land is just idle. We can actually lease land from there to supplement the raw material supply to Mumia Sugar Company. If we get enough supplies, then we do also these small holdings in Mumia Sugar Belt. We'll get enough supply for raw material to Mumia Sugar Company. But the main focus is the land structure.
Yeah. And the support of the farmer. That's not too different from what President William Ruto has been saying through his campaigns, and then also now in terms of what he wants to do with the Hustler Fund, and then the support of farmers. So would you say that you're in line with what he's been saying around the country?
I've said since I was elected as a deputy governor of Kakamega County, we have intergovernmental relation between the national government and the county government. There's no way we can work in isolation as a county government without being close to the national government. Because the deputy president actually chairs the intergovernmental meeting. The president chairs the summit regularly. So if the idea floated by the president is supported by the county government of Kakamega for the benefit of the farmer, we'll also support him. We'll stand by that idea. Because all major revenue source of a county government emanates from the national share. Because the on-source collection from the county is very little. You cannot do anything with on-source collection.
How much was the collection in the last financial year?
We are looking at the books, because we have told auditors to give us audited accounts of how much was collected, how much was spent. So they are yet to give us the report. Because once you take over the new office, you take your time to learn the institution. I've been from Parliament oversight side, and Baraza has been from the parastatal.
Yeah.
We have not been in the mainstream government.
County.
So we want to use auditors to give us the figures, and we are calculating now. In fact, even we are doing an audit of the pending bills, so we know actually if this is air or the supplies.
What is your current bill? How much have you been presented with?
Total is about 1.6 billion. That is recurrent and development. But development is about 600 million. But the grey area that has emerged is the pending bill concerning Mumia's level 4 hospital. The total cost of that project was 200 million. The contractor has done a variation and he has brought in invoice of 98 million on and above the 200 million budget. And the variation law cannot allow that. The Project Valuation Act, you paid between 15 to 25%, I'm sure.
This one is about 40%.
But this one is not even 40, 50%. 98 million. The total cost of the project is 200. So the governor has insisted, and I've supported him, we are not going to pay that invoice of 98 million. Yeah.
There was also the big project that was started by your predecessor, the governor. The level 6 hospital. Actually, huge, gigantic 8 billion shilling project.
Actually, it's almost complete. Initially, our former governor, when he had been nominated by Raila Amolo Odinga to be the designate CS Finance, he had proposed to us that he will transfer sports, the stadium, to the national government, so they can pump in more money for completion. Then also transfer the level 6 hospital to the national government, so that they can pump in more money to complete it and equip it to the level 6 standards. In Kenya we have only level 6 standard. I think Kenyatta National Hospital and maybe
Moi and KU.
Moi and KU. That was going to be the 4th one. But in the budget, actually, they've allocated 500 million for equipping and finishing.
So it's going to work.
So now we don't have the possibility of transferring to the national function, national government. We'll struggle with it at the county level, equip it. We bring in doctors from outside the country.
Sabula, was this project necessary?
It sounds like you're grappling with something that
it's already
don't have
there.
A choice but to make
Was it
work.
necessary?
It's already there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
the
there.
baby is there, so we can't kill the baby.
Was it necessary?
Whether it was necessary or not, a baby outside marriage or within marriage,
you have to take care of the baby.
Take care of the baby. It's there. You can't kill the baby. It's there. Let's sustain it.
The baby is there.
The baby is there.
It's going to cost you a lot of money. If you're talking about, looking at your own sources of revenue, the other things that you need to do in Mumia, supporting the farmers, supporting, education in Mumia, supporting all these other projects, and putting money into this thing to complete it. What's the priority?
Our priority is Mumia's first. Then these other things will follow. After we clear the issue of Mumia Sugar Company, then now we start with small health sector. Like Governor visited Matungu Health Center. It's in a pathetic condition. I was in Malava yesterday, level 4 hospital, the sub-county hospital. It's in terrible. There are not even drugs. It's a chaotic thing. So the priorities were wrong, but we are saying the baby is there. It's already there, so we can't kill the baby. Because there are other projects that have stalled in Kakamega County. And I don't know the planning that was there and how much they were thinking they will collect so that they can complete this project. There's a stalled milk factory in Malava. They just empty land and they promised the Malava people they are going to construct
a milk processing.
Who promised?
The county government.
Okay.
It has stalled. The land is there. They promised the people of Lugari they are going to construct a maize milling plant. And their plans were overambitious.
So there's a stalled maize milling plant. There's a stalled milk factory. There's a stalled stadium.
Hospital.
There's a stalled stadium.
Hospital.
And the existing hospitals are dilapidated.
Yes. Then there's also a
And there's a
stalled
dead sugar factory.
tea factory in Shinyalu.
If anybody has
He's overambitious.
inherited problems, it could be Kakamega County.
Kakamega, we are in trouble. To accomplish this, we need to sit down and think outside the box. Possibly we'll be initiating one project after the other.
So,
one project.
Is the focus then, because also everybody is looking towards legacy. It doesn't really matter what it is. You come into a new office and you're thinking, I'm going to be the one, like you talk of your legacy as MP and the things that you've been able to do that are still running today. But then here you are having inherited, that seems to be the buzzword now, but having inherited all these problems, dead this, stalled the other. So is the focus then, because it seems to be reviving those things resurrecting those things which have died, or starting new projects? For you, what would be the best option today?
The best option, actually, we should focus on our manifesto first. What we promised the people of Kakamega. What was our agenda? Then these other projects will be completing slowly by slowly as we look for other revenue source where we can get extra money so that we can complete these other stalled projects. We've discussed about the Shinyalu Tea Factory. We look for an investor. We allocate the land to an investor to put up the factory. We look for an investor to put up the Lugari maize milling plant. We look for an investor to do the Malava milk processing plant, because the county government alone
can't
constrain budget-wise. Yeah.
It sounds to me like it's a long game.
It's a long game. It's a long shot.
And the long game here was get the county government to start some projects, get the shell up to a certain point.
Yes.
Get it to a point where, the only way forward is forward, and then bringing a private investor to come in and take up.
Yeah.
When a private investor is coming to take up, it's already a done deal.
Yes.
And the private investor then is coming with leverage. You guys want to complete this project or not?
Then I run it.
I'm coming to take it at 50 bob when it's worth 150 shillings. It sounds to me like this is a long, protracted game which was just meant to swindle money from taxpayers.
Actually, we're in trouble. We need to put our act together so that we can complete these stalled projects. It's a huge task ahead of us. Huge. Humongous task.
What's a mix like in the county assembly in terms of Kenya Kwanza and Azimio?
We have the supermajority. Azimio has a supermajority.
Okay.
Yeah. Out of the 60 elected MCAs, we have 48. Yeah, we have supermajority. So in terms of legislation and passing of the bills,
you'll have it easy.
It's a super highway for us.
I've seen it in the news that the members of the county assembly have asked the governor and the deputy to work closely with Kenya Kwanza. Is there some truth to this?
In terms of what? You see, we also need a strong opposition in the assembly for checks and balances.
Work closely with the William Ruto administration.
We have no problem. He's the president. Once the Supreme Court gave him a clear nod that he's validly elected, we have no option because of the intergovernmental relation. We are not in parliament where we'll keep on abusing the president. We are all in executive. We're in the executive at the county level. The president is in the executive at national level. The executive is responsible for development. We have to coordinate between the national and county government. In that essence, we must respect the president and work with him. He's the president at the moment. I have no choice but to work with William Ruto. But in the election, I was supporting the Azimio. Yeah. But once the Supreme Court gave the nod that this is a validly elected president, I have no choice but to work with William Ruto as the president under the executive.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Savila, there's something that you said earlier, then we moved on from it a bit. Let's come back as we conclude. You had said you are working very closely with the Governor Fernandes Barasa.
Yes.
As deputy and as governor and deputy governor.
Yes.
You are forming the government together in terms of the members of the CEC.
Yes.
And the CEOs and the directors.
Yes.
You are working in consultation.
Yes.
And then we asked you, would you like to take up a role, a portfolio in CEC? And you said you have to balance between your private business and the work that you're doing for the public. So in terms of allocating your time, how do you see yourself balancing this time? Is it 70% business, 30% public, or what's the mix going to look like for the people of Kakamega to know, okay, so this is the 20% that we are getting from Savula this time?
All along, my life has been in Nairobi. I've been a businessman in Nairobi.
Yeah.
I worked in Nairobi. I worked in Standard here.
Yep.
I have been an MP in Nairobi. All my work so my establishment is in Nairobi. So I'm trying to reallocate more time back to Kakamega County. I don't have a house in Kakamega town. I have to travel from Lugari 1 hour 30 minutes to Kakamega town to my office. So I'm trying to balance. If I'll get enough time, I must allocate enough time for the people of Kakamega because I'm now in the executive. I'm not in oversight.
So you're going to spend more time.
I'll have to shift my operation to Kakamega. In fact, we've told our seniors at the Council of Governors, they must look for a way that governors and deputy governors are hosted in their towns. They have their residence in the town so that they can have easy time to work for the people.
Is there no official residence for the governor in Kakamega?
You see, there's a circular that stopped a payment of rent for governors and deputy where the previous governors have not built their official residence.
Yeah.
So Barazas lives in his home in Matungu, about 40 minutes drive to his office. I take also 1.5 hours drive from Lugari to my office because you're not allowed to rent offices. SRC does not allow us to do that because they say the previous governors had a deadline to build residence for governors and deputies. So we are suffering. So we need to look into ways that you can convince the SRC to allow us have rented facilities in Kakamega town that we can reach the office as quick as possible to serve our people of Kakamega.
Okay. Asante sana Mheshimiwa for coming.
Thank you so
There's
much.
a lot that we need to talk about, and we'll keep getting to have this conversation. So even the people of Kakamega who are watching and listening to you this morning can understand this is the work that's being done by our government, the people that we put into office. They need a lot of assurances, like you're saying. There's a lot of mess that you've inherited, but you've got to work on this mess. But you've got to explain to the people that this is the mess we inherited.
That is true.
Yes. Mheshimiwa Ayub Savula is the Deputy Governor of Kakamega County. He's been our guest this morning. Let's give somebody 2,000 shillings worth of Airtel airtime. And this is Baba Abel. Baba Abel says he's purchasing 7 days bundles. That's 3 GB for 250 bob. Doing poultry farming, these MBs enable him to learn more about chicken management and about pest and diseases, plus marketing his farm produce. For only 250 bob, he gets 3 GBs, 7 days worth of bundles, internet bundle. There's 4G across the country on Airtel.
Yep.
Big thing. Asante sana for keeping it locked to the Situation Room. Remember, text the word Shamba to 40299 for a chance to win an acre of land courtesy of AMG Realtors. Have a lovely day. We'll be seeing you again tomorrow morning. It's 10 a.m.